night. A lot of us are super excited. We've got a lot planned.
Play after play after play. Arizona Cardinals kind of shocked me with this selection. I thought they would go tackle to protect the quarterback, but no, they just go with the best player available and just a phenomenal football player. I think that his home run ability is great, um, and they're just getting a lot more with that. Another playmaker to add to Arizona is just great. Going on with Michael Wilson, I think they need that behind their quarterback. I think it's very important.
Absolutely. And the thing with Jeremiah Love is, too, with him being the absolute athlete, you can get him involved in so many times throughout the game in so many different ways. You can run screens. You can run him in the slot. You can run him in the backfield. So much is available to you with an athlete like that. Now, before we get into the fourth pick, just to recap for any issues we may have had, Fernando Mendoza, number 1 to the Raiders, and David Bailey, number 2 to the Jets. We just finished recapping number 3, Jeremiah Love, to the Cardinals. In doing so, the 4th overall pick has been made. The Tennessee Titans believe to maybe take Jeremiah Love if he falls. He does not. They end up going with Carnell Tate, first receiver off the board out of Ohio State. And there was a lot of debate between what receiver is the best receiver, which one comes off the board first. I do think Tate is the most pro-ready, and I think that's what they want to give Cam Ward.
Carnell Tate, man, he is a downfield threat. I think he's one of the best in the class at it. Now, he doesn't offer much after the catch, but honestly, as many big plays as he made at Ohio State didn't really matter because he's constantly 20-plus yards down the field making a play. And I think Tennessee picking him is also surprising to me as well, but they're getting another good playmaker, a deep threat that they desperately need for Cam Ward and to use his strong arm and his ability to throw the ball down.
And Carnell Tate makes up for what may be a little bit of a lacking route tree A lot of go slant, not necessarily as much as some other, big-bodied receivers in the draft, but he doesn't show too much in the middle of the field. Now, granted, he makes up with that with his phenomenal hands. He wins the catch point, he gets vertical, and he's got long strides. So it'll be exciting to see how he develops that going into his NFL career. Now, looking at this, in my mind, the top 3 players in the draft are still on the board between Sonny Styles, Francis Mauigoa, and Arvell Reese. So we'll see what the Giants have in store after we get a couple more in here. But with that, we have a package based on the Bills this free agency and what you could expect from them later tonight or possibly later in the weekend and what to look for. The Bills enter the offseason with multiple clear needs and addressed a handful of them in free agency. This provides them a direction as what they look to address in the draft.
And with draft night here, the Bills look to finish filling those holes on this roster.
NFL teams will usually give away their draft strategy based on who they retained from the previous year. The Bills only retained 4 of their free agents, with the highlight being center Connor McGovern. He signed a $52 million deal over 4 years, while Sam Franklin and Damar Hamlin both came back in the safety/special teams room. The 4th being punter Mitch Wishnowsky leaves a lot to be filled going into the draft and hints that safety is not a position Buffalo is high on.
Went to the Super Bowl. I saw what it like. I saw the atmosphere. I saw the feeling, and I just want to win. I want to make sure I win. And end up getting released. Free agency came, and I feel like this put me in the best position to do that.
The second part to figuring out an NFL team's draft strategy is addressing what they don't like in the draft in free agency. The Bills started to do this by trading for wide receiver DJ Moore, giving up a 2nd-round pick and getting a 5th-round pick in return from the Chicago Bears. They also invested heavily in the defensive secondary, getting safeties Geno Stone and CJ Gardner-Johnson, as well as nickel cornerback D. Alford. This leads to believe that they will not be targeting corner or safety early in the draft and rather will do so later and attend to other positions of need in rounds 1, 2, and 3.
I don't think I got let go of teams because I wasn't wanted, and I think I'm greatly wanted here, and it's going to be interesting because I never look at any season as they're going to be the same. I just go into it with a free mind, no goals for the past. Like this past year, I didn't have no goals. So I think this year I'm going to go into the same with it because it had turned out to be a winning season.
With the draft taking place tonight, Buffalo still has key areas to address. Linebacker, defensive line, wide receiver, and corner remain positions in need. The Bills hold the 26th overall pick, but with no 2nd-round selection, they'll need to maximize every opportunity to add depth to this roster. At pick 26, Buffalo has several directions they could go. Wide receiver Casey Concepcion offers playmaking ability and versatility, while defensive tackle Caden McDonald could strengthen the interior to help the Bills run defense. Linebacker C.J. Allen could bring leadership and downhill attacking ability to the inside linebacker position, while edge rusher R. Mason Thomas adds burst and bend on the perimeter at the position. These are all possible options that the Bills could look to round out the roster.
The Bills added plenty of veteran presence in free agency and now look to add the youth needed to rejuvenate this roster.
And with limited picks, every decision matters, especially for a contender. For Buffalo Sports Insider, I'm Miles Samuel.
And I'm Jake Moss. Welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider. My name's Jake Moss. We'll go right down the line.
Lucas Ryan, Wyatt Cooper, Unique Fuller.
And one of the best parts of any tournament or sports event is predictions. And come NFL or come NBA and basketball playoffs, March Madness, you have brackets. NFL, you have mock drafts. So the 4 of us here each had our own mock drafts made prior to this, and we're just going to go over a couple of them. I'm pretty sure all 4 of us had Mendoza 1. I don't think that's something we have to go over. Now, with the picks already being announced for the first 4, we had David Bailey, Jeremiah Love, and Carnell Tate. Those ones I think we can kind of gloss over at this point. We probably have the same positions, but maybe a different player or two. Going down the line, the pick here for the Giants, who did you want to see down in New York for Unique?
I wanted to see Jeremiah Love just because I feel like that with Jeremiah Love, with that offense, with Malik Neighbors, you have Scatterboo, you got Pat Ricard that they just added into the offseason as well, with Isaiah Likely and Jackson Dart. I feel like that offense would have been crazy, but obviously you've seen how that went. But it would have been a great pick nonetheless if it was to happen.
Personally, I thought Sonny Styles was going to be the best fit, and he's still on the board at this point. So I think that gives him the defensive captain, not necessarily in the mental, but a true actual playmaker in the middle of the defense is something the Giants haven't had in a while, and they've always relied on it from the secondary. It's always been safeties that end up being those guys. So I think Styles gives them the ability for Harbaugh especially to have that game record in the middle.
I also had Sonny Styles. I thought with a lot of Harbaugh teams, you had Ray Lewis when he's in Baltimore, then you had Roquan Smith. He kind of likes having that linebacker that can be the captain, can be the face of the defense. I think he would have fit perfectly in that defense.
I also had Sonny Styles. I think coming into this part of the draft, I feel like we all would have thought Arvo Reese would have been off the board.
Yeah.
I feel like if there's no Arvo Reese, you got to go with Sonny Styles. He's the next best athlete, and he's honestly one of the most valuable players on the field, in my opinion. But the way he graded out and all the athletics-wise, there was just no other choice here at the spot.
Absolutely. And going down the line, this is where it kind of gets shaky in the 10 to 20 range. There's a lot of teams that need a lot of pieces and a lot of good ones out there in the draft. So I want Unique to start us off. And who's one that you thought was a pretty good pick in that area that you think was the best fit?
To be honest, amongst the top 10 teams, I think Ruben Bain and the Saints would have been a great pick. You know, obviously he has some concerns with his arms at the combine, and he is most likely going to dip past the top 7. But I feel like the Saints really need that, especially with you have a veteran like Cam Jordan on that side of the ball that can really benefit him. Even though they play different positions, he got that leader experience, and I feel like he could rub off on Ruben in a way. And Ruben is a phenomenal athlete. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, he's a fantastic athlete. He has the moves to show it. And if everything clicks for him, he should be definitely a steal early on in this round, for real.
Absolutely. And I really, really, really like Ruben Bain as a prospect. And I don't think the short arms thing should really hinder him too much, because ultimately, if you look at the tape, there wasn't a team in college who could stop him. Personally, one of my favorites in this range is at number 11, Mekhi Lemon of the Dolphins. I think after they lose Tyreek Hill, they lose Jalen Waddle, this is a receiver who has a lot available to him in the game. You look at Carnell Tate, who we saw go to the Titans. He's very one-dimensional currently. He has the best pro package currently, but there's not much to his game. And Jordan Tyson, of course, is one of the most well-rounded receivers, but he's got these injury concerns. None of those things apply to Mekhi Lemon. We've seen him play vertically, horizontally, and ultimately can play slot and outside. So a lot of versatility there for a team in Miami that doesn't have a lot to them. I think that gives them the ability to play the offense however they want to decide to play the offense.
And mine was the same. I went with Miami as well, but I picked a different wide receiver. I went with Jordan Tyson. I think they're desperately in need of a wide receiver 1, and I think he fits that, barring, hopefully he can stay healthy. But if he can stay healthy, I think it's a perfect wide receiver 1. When I see him play, his athleticism, his just playmaking ability, it reminds me a lot of Odell Beckham Jr. coming out of college. I think that would fit perfectly with Miami's offense.
100%. So I went a different route here. I was an offensive lineman in college. I love the offensive line position. So with my favorite person in this range, I had Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. He is a 6'7", almost 6'8" offensive lineman with one of the best agility pass sets that I think I've ever seen. The way he can anchor down, use his hands, it's almost a thing of beauty at this point. I had him going 13th to the Rams. I hope he goes earlier. I really think that he's a great prospect. It's him going to the Rams, keeping Matthew Stafford safe, and what is the later years of his career. Hopefully gets him another MVP. It would be a thing of beauty to see him go to the Rams 100%.
Absolutely. And one more run through down the line. We'll look later in the draft, obviously, the Bills, the team that most of us here are fans of, and everyone tuning in most likely is. Picking at 26 right now, given that they stay at 26, Unique, who do you think they should go with?
I went with safety, Emmanuel, what's his name?
McNeil Warren?
McNeil, yes. I went with him just because I liked how he played in college. He got all the package you need in a safety. He kind of remind me of like a Buda Baker in a way. You know what I'm saying? He tracked the ball very well. He has good hands, and I feel like he could get after the quarterback as well. Like, he has all the personnel you would need in a safety, and if that definitely clicks into the big leagues, the NFL, he could be one heck of a safety going forward.
And I really do like McNeil Warren at that spot. It's just I don't know if he makes it that far. He's a really good safety, and safeties are hard to come by. Now, looking to mine, I went with R. Mason Thomas. This is a guy we know Bean and, well, formerly McDermott, but mainly Bean, they really, really, really like to stick with the guys they do a lot of work with. And R. Mason Thomas was one they did a lot of work with between the combine, private interviews. So for me, he's one that's absolutely going to be there. And if Bean really thinks he's their guy, I don't see them trading back out of it and taking him in the second. I think they just stay put, take him there, and get the fifth-year option on his contract.
Absolutely. I had them, with my pick, I had them picking Zion Young, but the guy I want them to get is Akeem Mesidor if he's there. I think playing opposite Ruben Bain, I think that gives him a huge advantage. When now in Buffalo, he'd be able to play outside Bradley Chubb.
Yeah.
And I think he could wreak havoc with that defense. And I think the Bills really need depth at the defensive end position. I think he would fit in perfectly.
100%. With the Bills, my pick, I'd have taken Kevin Concepcion out of Texas A&M. I think he'd be great right between DJ Moore and Khalil Shakir. A great number two there. I mean, we all know Khalil Shakir has to be in the slot. We hope that he doesn't run 8 screenplays to him a game, but we'll see how that goes. We need more weapons. Josh Allen definitely needs more weapons. We started adjusting, and I think just one more first-round pick, and let's get it going to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And a whole lot to be found out with what the Bills do, whether they trade back or whether they stay. I know Casey Concepcion's a home run pick and the fan favorite because offense is, of course, what wins games at the end of the day.
Yep.
And you always want to see Josh Allen have more and more weapons at his disposal. So with that, we're going to be sending that to our next break, and we will be back with trivia afterwards.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
How's your serve coming? I think we'll work on it this weekend.
Amy's slumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If you do...
Hi, Lauren. My name is Katie. We're going to take care of you, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Very right.
You wouldn't do that. So why do you do this? Distracted driving kills an average of 9 people and injures over 1,000 every day in America. Put down your phone. Lives depend on it. Don't drive intoxicated. Don't drive intoxicated. A sobering message from AAA.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
And how's your serve coming along?
Not so good.
I think we should work on it this weekend.
Amy's birthday bash slumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If...
I don't want them to fucking deny
Yeah.
I want them to get Tyson or Downs with that, but I feel like they're going to get one.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the NFL Draft 2026. My name is Aiden,
My name is Matt.
My name's Lucas.
and we're just going to give you a little bit of a recap that's going on so far. So, big-wise, we have the Chiefs moving up
To the 6th pick.
Oh, there was a big pick for the trades for the Chiefs moving up, and I'm surprised we see this in general, to be quite honest with you. I wasn't thinking that the Chiefs were going to move up at all, so I'm excited to see who they end up actually taking in this. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, Browns moved back. I'm curious to see what they do with their pick, moving back from 6 to 9.
Yeah, and my obvious choice from this first reaction, the Browns wanted Tate, and they said, okay, we can't get him at 6. We're gonna move back, and I'm gonna be honest. Would it be crazy if the Browns moved back again? I don't know.
I could see it. I could see it.
What's their second pick in the first round?
24.
24. So I don't think it's out of the question at
Yeah.
all, especially if they want to go wide receiver or something.
I think they could definitely try to rack up picks in this first round.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't think that's a bad choice for them either. I mean, listen, we all know the Browns, they really need some help. So,
Yep.
I mean, at this point, I think you go lineman
I
for at least for one of the picks.
with 2 first-round picks, I feel like you got to go 1 wide receiver, 1 O lineman, or even you could go defense with one of the picks. I feel like with one of them has to be wide receiver.
Yeah. I don't even know, like, do we really think that any of the rest of the receivers on this board are like a true pure number one?
I guess we'll have to. There's 2 guys, Tyson and Lemon, that are on the board that I think are the 2 main wide receivers left. And I think I would, if you're the Browns, I don't think you could play in getting either of those guys.
Yeah, no, true.
But at number 9, we'll see.
Yeah.
So we're gonna keep this thing on the road, and what we want to do is a new segment where we go back, a little history lesson on all of the Bills' first-round draft picks since about 2013, 14, in a segment called Dog or Not a Dog. So, Super Bowl champion Sammy Watkins, dog or not a dog?
Not a dog, dude.
Not a dog.
Just so not a dog.
Are we talking him on the Bills or him as a player when we're talking dog?
We'll start with the Bills.
I would say not a
That's
dog.
easy answer.
If we're talking actual player, I got to call him a dog. You want a Super Bowl with the Chiefs, but if we're talking strictly Bills stint, I would say not a dog.
Listen, this isn't Sammy Watkins slander, but it kind of is. He got fat. He became a tight end. Like, what are we talking about here? This dude is not a dog, maybe in the sense that he likes to eat, but like, I just don't like. I have a bad taste in my mouth, I think, forever because of Sammy Watkins. So, not a dog for me. What do you think, Matt?
I'm going to go with not a dog.
Yes.
And the reason is because what you mentioned, I was looking at stats before this. There's that one fumble. And we all know that fumble. Yes, I was only like 12 years old, but still, we all remember that fumble. Okay, next. Shaq Lawson, the AFC East journeyman. Dog or not a dog?
Dog.
I'm gonna go with dog. I'm gonna
I'm
follow
also
you.
going to go with dog
All right.
because Shaq Lawson, man, that's a special draft pick because I remember where I was when he was picked. I was, shooting some hoops with my friends like, yo, Shaq Lawson just got picked. I was like, okay, Clemson guy. Wow, we really picked. Obviously, it's not back to back, but I think the Bills have something with the Tigers back in the 2010s. So
Absolutely. No, I cannot agree more. Like having Shaq Lawson, especially after this previous year when he came back to the Bills, I mean, this dude can fill the run. He can also, go back in coverage. He's not really good at it, but he can. But you know what? I love Shaq Lawson. That's why he's a dog for me. Bit of a journeyman, like you said, but I love him.
I do want to mention one more thing with Shaq Lawson. Who remembers? Was it him getting in a little fight with Leonard Fournette?
Maybe?
I don't know. I don't know.
I can't remember that either.
I can definitely see it.
I think
though.
it was.
Yeah, I could see that
definitely
too.
So for that reason, dog, even if it wasn't him. Okay, the next pick. This guy, he's a very notable person. He's been on the Bills. He left the Bills. He came back. Tre'Davious White, our 2017 first round draft pick. Dog or not a dog?
Lucas, take it away.
I gotta say dog. For his first run with the Bills, I gotta say dog. His back half, his run he's had recently, not a dog. So I'm kind of down the middle with it.
I'm gonna say an injury-prone dog, but a dog nonetheless.
Yeah,
a dog nonetheless, but he's definitely a little injury-prone. He had to get those surgery on both his elbows. That dog's got to get done. So, but yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go Trey White, dog. He means a lot to my city. I love him. Trey White, Goalie Academy. Shout out.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go with dog. And that Gronk hit changed him, man. Imagine if he didn't get hit by Gronk there.
In the dirty
Okay,
set.
next up, we got a double dog or a double not dog. Jermaine Edmonds and Josh Allen in 2018. It's been a while since we drafted 2 guys in the first round. But dogs or not dogs? We can go one at a time, I guess.
I'm saying double dog. I think
Double dog.
I think Jermaine Edmonds was good with the Bills, and I think he's been great with the Bears. I think Jermaine Edmonds is a great player, and then obviously, Josh Allen is Josh Allen. So obviously he's like a triple dog by himself.
He's literally got that dog in him. I mean, yeah. I couldn't agree more. They're both dogs. Tremaine, I miss him a lot personally on this Buffalo Bills team. I thought he was great. It was so sad when we saw him leave. I think it was like 2-3 years ago now. So, yeah, it is a little disappointing, but he's definitely a dog. He's been doing good things for Chicago. And, yeah, I love him.
Yep, Tremaine Edmonds, dog. I'm kind of jealous of the Giants, to be honest. And Josh Allen, dog.
100%.
Next up, Ed Oliver, our 2019 first-round draft pick. Where are we putting him?
I got to say dog. All right, because this guy, you know what? Ed Oliver got a lot of, grief, I'll say. Want to use a different word, but we're live. So he had a lot of grief early on in his career because, maybe he didn't have the impact that we thought he might. But in these later years, his technique, his ability to play has grown significantly. And I honestly, I love to hear. I love to watch this guy play. I think he's exactly what this Bills inner line needs. I think he's a great leader. And you know what? The guy rides horses and wears cowboy hats. How is that not a dog,
Thank you for bringing that up.
I would say for that alone is a dog. And then on top of his play on the field, that's maybe even a double dog by himself.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with dog. I mean, you can't come out of Houston and not be a dog. So next up, 2021, Gregory Rousseau, a.k.a. Groot. I think he got the name. Dog or not a dog?
All right, guys, this might be a hot take. Rousseau is pretty loved throughout the Bills community and stuff, which I kind of understand, but not a dog. You know what I mean? This dude just can't come up in the playoffs. This dude really can't do much to begin with. He has a couple of cool sacks throughout the year. He kind of stinks at stopping the run, though. Just, when it really comes down to it, the brass tacks for me, Rousseau, Groot, not a dog.
I'm going to switch it up here. I think he is a dog. The fact that he's been with the Bills throughout this entire run, going to the playoffs, he's been one of their big DN guys, especially in the rotation. I'm going to give him, kind of to even spite you, I'm going to give him the dog.
Okay. I'm gonna also go dog just to rub it in your face.
Yeah.
But we're actually gonna skip this next person because they're a pup. Kyer Elam. We're gonna
just a
browse
pup.
past 2022.
Yeah.
And go to a person that we know is a dog. Dalton Kincaid, number 86, our 2023 first-round selection. I'm just going to go first because I can't wait because he's a dog.
Yeah, no, most definitely a dog.
Let's go.
Absolutely, a dog.
Yeah, 100%. This guy, he plays through injury. He gets a lot of grief, too, because of the injury stuff. But you know what? It's tough. It's a physical sport, You can't get everything from this guy. And I truly think, I feel like we've been saying this maybe the past 2-3 years, that he's going to pop off. I think this upcoming season, we see the best season out of Dalton Kincaid yet. Okay. Truly, with this new Drew Brady offense, I really, really love it. I can't wait for it.
Yep. And I'm going to be honest, I hope in 2 more years we can be saying this about our 2025 first-round draft pick, Maxwell Hairston. He was injured for the first part of the season. So I feel like we didn't get a good sample size of what he could potentially be for the Bills. And for that reason, he's not a dog yet.
Yeah, no, he's definitely like adolescent dog. You know what I mean? He's not there yet. He's not a puppy like some people on the list, but he's definitely not a dog yet. He's got some stuff to do. I completely agree with you there, Matt.
I feel like it's a little disrespectful to say he's not a dog. I know what you mean, but I'm going to say potential dog. I think he's got a lot of potential, and hopefully he can I think with a lot of guys, he's just got to stay healthy, stay on the field.
Yeah, 100%. Availability is the best ability.
Absolutely.
Now, real quick, do we want to do 2024? Because he technically wasn't a first-round pick, but no, we want to miss Keon.
Nah.
First rounders only. Shout out to Keon Coleman, though.
Not a dog.
It's disrespectful.
We want everybody to enjoy the rest of the draft, but also put on your thinking caps because we're sending it to NFL Draft Trivia.
Welcome to Trivia for the NFL Draft. Which city has held the NFL Draft the most times? Is it A, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? Is it B, Green Bay, Wisconsin? Is it C, New York City, New York? Or is it D, Chicago, Illinois?
It's Green Bay.
It's New York. That's Radio City Music Hall, or I forget what it's called. It's the Radio Hall in New York.
I thought it was Green Bay.
So New York final answer.
Green Bay.
Green Bay final answer. The answer is New York City, New York. And believe it or not, it has hosted the NFL draft 57 times.
I was going to say, I don't think they started traveling for the draft until like somewhat recently.
Yep.
Oh, really?
They always had it in
2015.
New York.
Oh my God.
2015. For 50 years straight, it was New York City, and they did it 7 other times before that, which that blew my mind when I searched that up.
Yeah, man, I didn't realize it was 50 years they were doing
Yeah,
that.
50 years straight.
Which college has produced the most first overall picks ever?
I'm going to go Georgia.
Okay.
I'm stuck between. You see, the hard part for me is like I'm trying to think like old regime too. 'Cause
Yeah.
You have to think like
30s.
Like because Big Ten. I feel like it's a Big Ten team. I don't know. All right, safe play. I'm gonna go Alabama.
The answer is USC.
USC.
The Trojans?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I was
feel
thinking
like-
Notre Dame too.
They were probably up there.
Yeah.
Who's your guys' favorite Trojan?
I'm gonna go
Reggie Bush.
I was going to go Juju Smith-Schuster.
Smith-Schuster.
Name I haven't heard in a
Troy
while.
Polamalu.
Nice.
I didn't even know he went to USC.
I'm pretty sure he did. This former first round sits at 13th on the Bills' all-time rushing list with 2,765 yards, but went on to rush for over 10,000 yards in his NFL career.
So it's a running back they drafted?
Yes.
In the first round.
In the first round. It's a name I know you guys know.
I think I'm going to go Marshawn Lynch.
Is it? I feel like is like recent.
Semi.
I was honestly.
We watched him. I'm not going to say that.
We watched him.
Yeah, we watched him for sure. Maybe not on the Bills, but we did watch him.
I'm gonna go Marshawn Lynch.
It is
too.
Marshawn
Okay.
Lynch. It is Marshawn Lynch.
Beast mode, baby.
I was so tempted to say OJ Simpson.
No, OJ was a good one too. I think, but he's first, or maybe now after James Cook. It might be James Cook and now OJ.
I've only ever owned one Bills jersey, and it was a Marshawn Lynch 23 jersey.
That's a great jersey
But
to
it's,
have.
I don't know where it is. And it wouldn't fit me anyway because I was in elementary school when I had it.
Linebacker, a lot of us thought we're going to go number 2. Now, he ends up falling to 5, and I think this was a perfect case scenario for the Giants. Gives them a lot of versatility in the middle of the defense like we were looking for the Jets. Now, going into number 6, we saw the Chiefs trade up. That was announced in the last segment, and they ended up taking Mansour Delane, corner out of LSU. This is the pick a lot of us had them taking, just not trading up to get them. I think the capital they gave up might have been a little much to go up and get him, but if you were concerned of him going at 7, then it makes sense. As for number 7, the Commanders, they were in need of a corner. Seeing Delane go off before them, they end up going with inside linebacker Sonny Styles. Personally, my number 1 linebacker in the draft and number 1 player overall. I thought he offers the most when it comes to the actual game of football. Maybe lacks a little bit in the mental department, not necessarily saying he's not smart, but just doesn't recognize things that he sees as fast as some of the other guys. And then number 8, the Saints took what a lot of us had as the favorite receiver in the draft, Jordan Tyson. His private workout looked well enough to get him all the way up to the top 10, as where some teams had him falling all the way to the end of the first round. The big concern with Tyson was, are his injuries going to affect him? And at his private workout, I think he showed that he is healthy. And as long as he's able to maintain that, he will be a great receiver in the NFL for a long time. And then sticking with the offensive side of the ball, Cleveland comes in after losing a couple offensive linemen. They signed a couple here and there, and then they take another one in the first round, with the 9th overall pick being Spencer Fano, offensive tackle out of Utah. Fano is one that you really, really want in the run game. He's your classic mauler. He gets hands-on. He's very heavy with those hands, and he's very technically sound in the matter of he positions himself well and doesn't get bull rushed a lot. Now, if we look ahead at some of our boards, personally, in my big board, we do have a couple guys left in the top 5 or 10. Notably, Francis Mauigoa, overall my second prospect in the draft, and he's still on the board at 10. So I think this is something that you could see end up being your fall this year. I think Mauigoa is more or less, he's kind of pigeonholed into being the left tackle. And he can't really play the right. We saw that in college. They tried it when he was younger, and it was an actual like travesty to the team. Like he was not able to use his right leg as a power leg. So now joining us is Bills legend Daryl Talley.
Hello, how are you?
And doing all right. How are you?
Sitting in the breakfast room talking to you on the phone right now or on via Zoom.
That's awesome. Great to have you here. Thank you for tuning in with us. And to start it off, I just wanted to ask you, being a part of the Buffalo Bills and this new culture they're trying to bring, what was something for you guys that was a staple that you guys really thought had to happen when you guys are winning games like that?
What had to happen? We had to believe in one another is what we had to do. And that's what we did, really. Our team was kind of unique because it was built through the draft and free agency. And the way we got together as a collective was really funny. So, and yeah, we were a good football team that way.
And it's great to see the culmination of when all the moves in the draft and free agency come together. And we saw the Bills pretty active in free agency, filling some of the holes that they needed. Now, for you, what do you want to see the Bills do direction-wise or player-wise at 26?
Well, see, at 26, I don't have a choice for what they pick. All I want them to do is pick the best available football player. And you have to pick somebody that, in my opinion, that's going to mesh with the guys that you already have. Because you're not trying to bring it, you're trying to start a whole new culture now. And you got to have somebody that is receptive to that. You got to have somebody that's willing to be able to make changes and things of that nature.
I gotcha. And, you know, kind of just not to poke and prod, but is there one name you've seen in this process that you really like, whether it be for Buffalo or you just like them as a player?
No, I'm just going to actually sit back and watch this year's draft. I'm just going to look at where the guys are going. The team that I'm interested in watching this year, honestly, along with the Bills, will be the New York Jets and Giants. Because, to be honest with you, the Giants have got a bunch of monsters on the defensive side of the ball. If they get them to act right and play right, they will be very, very good. And we're going to have a little bit of a transitional problem in Buffalo, I think. But we're going to get guys in that can do the right things. We have guys that play different positions.
And I do like the point you bring up with those teams, because what all three of them are going through, the Jets have a little bit of a head start, is the new coaching staffs that are all implementing their new systems and stuff like that. For Buffalo specifically, do you think the Joe Brady offense will require new players, or do you think he'll just make do with what we already have?
Well, what he'll do is, in my opinion, he'll tinker with the people. He'll try and bring in different guys. He'll try and bring in more speed, probably. But you know, you have to remember, Shakira and those guys are doing very good at getting separation inside. We're just not having a downfield speed. That's
I get
what's
that.
killing
And
us.
one of the points I always bring up is the Bills haven't had a burner since Marquise Goodwin. So it'd be nice to see that too.
Yeah, well, we haven't had anybody who could really take the top off the defense. We've had good possession receivers and guys that know how to make big plays, guys that have done that. And a lot of times it's just rack yards that they get, run after the catch. So, you know, you have to have guys that can do it all, do multiple things and put them in different positions. I actually think our offense is set up pretty daggone well. I mean, you have to look at the core of where it's going and where the way they can get points on the board and move the football. You've got
And
a
I do
great
think
quarter. Go ahead.
Offense is so much more chemistry driven, where everything has to be on the same page for all 11 players, especially in the pass game between the quarterback and receivers. So that's not something I see Buffalo struggling with.
I lost you.
Oh.
I lost you and I can't hear you.
unfortunate. Hear me now? Awesome.
I can't
got you
hear
back.
him.
Well, Daryl
I can't
Talley,
hear anything
if
you're
you
saying.
can, or if you can see, thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day. And it's always special to talk to someone of your caliber. So I
Can you hear
appreciate
me?
you. Thank you for coming in. I understand that you can't hear me, but we are good to go. And we're going to send it to our next package, which is Emma Nosby, who's behind all our graphics currently, who's going to go over the Bills and their 2026 schedule.
Take one, everybody. Low-key, one of my favorite things about the NFL offseason is the schedule release. I know that sounds crazy. The NFL started making a big deal out of it like a few years ago, I believe. Shout out the LA Chargers social media team. They have the best videos in my opinion. Please don't come for me. Don't come for me because I'm a Bills fan. Please, please, please. But really, I mean, it is exciting to know when your favorite team is going to be playing, whether that be on prime time or if they're going to be playing out of the country. Thank God my Bills are not. And then what you can do is that you will just plan your entire life schedule for the next 6 months to revolve around your favorite team, like a normal person. We already know the home and away teams for every single NFL team for this upcoming season. Why don't we break down the opponents for the Buffalo Bills, but also explain why we have those opponents to begin with. It's pretty complicated in theory, but really it's just this big timeline, cycle, rotation, whatever you want to call it. It's hard for me to explain in words, so good thing I made visuals. Let me pull those up right now. Ah, yes, my lovely big board. Isn't it beautiful? All right, let's get the obvious out of the way. The first 6 games will be our AFC East division opponents, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Patriots. We play against them both at home and away, like we do every year. This is obvious. All right, let's move on. The next 8 opponents are determined by a rotating timeline that sees each team playing every other team within a span of 4 years. As a member of the AFC, the Bills play against one other AFC division besides their own, and that rotates through a 3-year span. So this season, they will be playing against the AFC West. 2 of those teams will be playing here in Buffalo, while the other 2 will be on their turf. That switches every time these divisions cross paths. So, for example, the last time we played the Raiders in the regular season was during the 2023 season at home. This year, it is their turn to host the Bills, and that becomes a back and forth pattern every 3 years. So, along with traveling to Sin City, the Bills' other AFC West opponent that is away is the Denver Broncos. This means both the Chargers and the Chiefs are going to be playing here at home whenever that may be. So, let's take that concept for the AFC and apply it to the NFC. Since these are non-conference opponents, these divisions rotate out every 4 years. This year, it's the NFC North's turn. The Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions will be our home opponents from that division, while the Bills embrace more cold than usual by traveling to Green Bay to take on the Packers and Minneapolis to take on the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, so if my math is correct, and I'm not a math major, we have 3 more opponents to go, and these are the easy ones because they're determined by the results of last season. Okay, so going back to our AFC cycle, the first 2 are conference opponents from the other 2 divisions we are not playing in the regular season, so the AFC North and the AFC South. They both have the common trait of being the same placement as the Buffalo Bills. So since we finished second in the East last season, the other 2 teams will also be the second place finishers in their respective divisions. So representing second place in the North is the Ravens, and second place in the South is the Texans. This last one is a new one because we've only had a 17-game schedule since the 2021 season. It is a non-conference opponent, so for us, it would be an NFC team, and the division is determined based on what NFC division we played 2 seasons ago, that being the NFC West. And then whoever had the same alignment as the Bills did, that's the opponent we'll be playing against. And if you didn't know, second place for the NFC West went to the Los Angeles Rams, so we're playing against the Rams, obviously. So here is your final look of the 2026. Oh my God. All right, let me say that again. 2026 regular season schedule for the Buffalo Bills. And before you complain about there being more away games than home games this season, don't worry. Next year, there's going to be more home games. And then the next year is going to be away games. Yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, do you think we're good? He says we're good. So I hope you learned a thing or two about scheduling and how all that works. And I hope those visuals help because I worked really hard on those. Thank you all for watching this video, and until next time, my name has been Emma Nosby, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this NFL Draft special brought to you by Buffalo Sports Insider. Bye!
Welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider. Thank you, Emma, for having that. And we're going to get into some offensive line talk. Obviously, someone played offensive line. It might be me. And before that, we have a couple more picks to announce. Staying with the offensive line, the Giants at number 10. They end up staying, and I thought they would go defense. They end up going defense. Maui Goa doesn't slide anymore, goes at number 10, and he will be the blindside protector to Jackson Dart. And number 11, the Cowboys end up trading up one pick for with the Miami Dolphins, and I think this was just a quick little, let's go get him. Don't let the Dolphins trade out with anyone else. Make sure we get our guy. Dallas goes up and gets Ohio State safety Caleb Downs. Now, looking at my big board, Downs was my number 6 player overall. Maui Goa was my number 2, which takes the top 6 players off of my board so far, leaving the next top players as Ruben Bain, Spencer Fano, and Dylan Thieneman. Now, for the offensive line, this is a class where it's very top-heavy. There's a lot of good offensive tackles, and there's a couple good interior offensive linemen. But once you get into the later rounds, the talent just is not there. Yeah. So, Wyatt, what's one that you think is an absolute get for a team that may need this right now?
I think right now, going into this draft, like I had Fanu and Maui Goa as my top 2, but I, as I mentioned earlier, absolutely love Monroe Freeling. I feel like if you're a team that's down there, like you're a Lions or you're a Rams, and you see Monroe Freeling and he's still there, if I'm any GM at any of those teams and you know you need a tackle, you go get him. 6'7", 34-inch wingspan, 345 pounds. Like that's just something that's value, and he moves super well. The only thing that I think that is wrong with him that he could work on, that any good offensive line coach can get going for him, is his hips just have to be lower. In the run pro, you got to get hip to hip. You got to get lower. Great hand placement, but in the league, when you're playing against some great defensive linemen, it's going to be hard to get leverage there. Long arms, 100%.
And it's all got to come together at that level, too. Yeah. I think Freeling had a lot that he kind of got away with being at Georgia. So there's some there that you want to see fixed, not necessarily before he gets in the NFL, but as he transitions into the next level. Yeah. I love Freeling as a tackle. Yeah. And I really do think he's better as a left tackle than he is a right tackle. And that's a common theme with a lot of these guys. Yeah. I mentioned the last segment as referring to Maui Goa as a left tackle. He's been a right tackle. Exactly. But I do think in the NFL, he doesn't move well enough to play right tackle. Yep. So I think left tackle is better for him there. Yep. And Freeling for me is one where he's the exact opposite, where he kind of has to be a left tackle, but he's got a wicked punch. He's great in the run game. Yep. And like you said, his hips just got to be lower. Yep. He runs high, but even then he's running people over as he's high. So really, really nice to see from him. For me, the one that really, really jumps off the page, especially that's still on the board, is Caden Proctor. Yes. And I know you have a couple on this guy. You don't see offensive linemen be this athletic almost ever. And one of the best parts is you can get athletes involved and get the ball in their hands. You never see that with an offensive tackle until you watch Bama last year, and they're running screens to their 370-pound left tackle. So it's a type of play where he gives you the ability to do so much in the run game, in the pass game. He can move so fluidly. Yep. And one thing that I have on Caden Proctor is just the control of his body. There's so many things, your core engaged. There's so many more levels to being an offensive lineman than most people think, you know? And it's when you just watch, it's just one fluid motion, no matter what he's doing. If he's doing a drop step, if he's trying to hook somebody, if he's getting into a double team, it's always just a fluid, athletic motion, no matter what. And that's something as a dude that can either run you over or stop you in a pass pro, which is going to be something that's elite. When you have footwork like that, it's going to be so hard to get by this guy. It's almost another sense of value where I'm seeing him where he's going in people's mock drafts. I'm like, wow, these people really don't understand how athletic and how great that Caden Proctor really is. It's something to me that was like, oh, wow. And another thing for me personally is if I was also a GM and I was looking earlier and I was in the spot where Spencer Fanu got drafted, I would have done the exact same thing. Unlike you, I kind of see where you're going. Go to the left tackle. You can hide some of the weaknesses with Maui Goa, but it's just so hard for a translation. And in my personal opinion, he's there at Miami. You see the things that he was doing there. It's just,
I don't know if he was a top 2, like you say on your board.
Yep.
It's just so hard to have to transition over from that position. That's the one thing that worries me. And Fanu at the same time also worries me in the pass pro. And there's a lot of sets where he's getting against good dudes, he's opening his hips wide up. And it's just like if you're going against a Myles Garrett and you're sitting there opening your hips up to your quarterback, you're giving that dude a lane to go and absolutely murder your quarterback. It's just like you have to stay square to the offensive line. And he's a professional. If he can do that and he can get away with that in this league, good for him. But it's something that's so scary to me,
Now, let's look ahead a little bit. As we've gone over a lot of these top linemen, and there may be more that go in the first round. Blake Miller could be one. Max E. Henshaw from Arizona State showed out at the Senior Bowl.
He did.
Looking at the Dolphins, we always say you have to build the trenches first.
Yep.
Well, the Dolphins have a clean slate. They got the quarterback. They have nothing else.
Yeah.
So at the pick 12, which was 11,
Yeah.
do you want to see them actually get a playmaker like I projected them to get Lemon, or do you want to see them actually build in the interior first?
So that's the thing. Right now at this spot, you could go with the Monroe Freeling 100%, but then who are you going to throw the ball to?
Yeah.
You get rid of Jalen Waddle. You don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. What are you going to do in that position? It's just that's one if you are truly valuing Malik Willis as your QB of the future, you go get him protected every single day of the year. You can go somewhere and make somebody good. If Malik Willis is that talented, you could always go make a lower tier receiver and elevate him. But it's very rare to find somebody like a Monroe Freeling. Again, just almost 6'8", and the way that he could just dominate people. It's just like if he's there, you got to go for him, in my opinion. But who knows what they value,
It's like trying to get around a traffic cone with arms and legs.
Yeah,
it is not easy. And we'll look at the interior real quick before we send this off. Iowane, Vega Iowane from Penn State. Very clearly the number 1 interior offensive lineman. There's Connor Lew behind him, and there's Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon.
Yeah.
Iowane is one where you look at the top centers in the league, Creed Humphrey, Tyler Linderbaum. They're good pass setters, but they're really, really good run blockers.
Yep.
Iowane, we mentioned, doesn't move well. He's
At
much
all.
more of a pass blocker, and we saw that with Aller.
Yep.
So do you think he should go as early as he is being mocked, or do you think that causes him to fall?
If you can't move, you can't play the position, especially now. If you're going against a defensive tackle who runs a 4.5, a 4.4, or you know what I mean? It's like you have to be able to move. You can have power. There's power lifters who have power. The whole point of being an offensive lineman is you're 340 pounds and you're nimble and you can move. That's the whole point of the position. There's only certain places if you're going to go into interior, are you going to go to center? You can't hide a center that can't move. Can you hide a left guard that can't move? Or else are they going to bring the pressure off the left side? Get your quarterback smoked. You go to the front side. How are you going to run the ball if you can't move?
Yep.
You know what I mean? You can go have your packages and try to get double teamed up, but then it's just you're drafting them in the 20s. And I've seen someone put them at 17 or somewhere around that range. It's just like, how are you going to do that if you have to scheme to protect him because he can't move?
I get that. And the center is the hardest spot, too, is because you don't necessarily – he's the one supposed to be controlling the offensive line. You can't scheme away from him.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a lot of offensive line talk. I know that's something that doesn't get a lot of show, so I'm glad that we actually got that segment in.
Yep.
Wyatt, thank you for that.
Of course.
And we're going to send it to break, and we'll be back with more picks after this.
Hey Buffalo, need a midweek boost that's fun and meaningful? Join Wine, Wags, and Brews at the SPCA serving Erie County. Sip wine, taste craft beer, snack on delicious bites, and hang out with adorable, adoptable dogs. Bring your friends, make it a date, or just treat yourself. It's all for a great cause. Wine, Wags, and Brews, Wednesday, June 10th at the SPCA serving Erie County. Tickets and info at yourspca.org/WWB. Wine, wags, brews, and a whole lot of tail wags.
When I think of the Buffalo State graduate program, I think of personal growth. The classwork is definitely challenging, but it's very rewarding. Our professors support their students. They're always there to answer questions, to help with projects.
Especially in a graduate program, it's not a typical teacher-student relationship. You're treated a lot more as a peer, and it helped me hone in on my own interests professionally and academically.
What's up, my guys? My name is Chef Darian Bryan, owner executive chef for the Playday Society. I'm also an alumni for Buffalo State, man. You guys really set me straight so I can, move on with my career. What stand out most to me at Buff State? It's more like the love and support my instructors show me, like the professionalism that these folks they know so much, like the hands-on learning, dealing with real people, you know what I mean? It's a fun experience.
I don't know what he was knocking for. I just know he was knocking. Okay. Welcome back. Sorry about that. I'm joined by Miles and Matt, and right now we're waiting on a few more picks to come through completely, getting those ready for you. Looking at the board, there's a couple guys at the top that are still up there, and for me, especially a couple still in the top 10. We're through 11 picks so far. In theory, the top 10 should be gone. For me, it's Ruben Bain, Spencer Fano, and Dylan Thieneman that are still there in that group. I want to see if there's anyone that you guys expect that either has fallen or, based on the way the board has fell, will fall. We'll start with you, Matt.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that Ruben Bain Jr. is still on the board. I think that's my biggest surprise right now. The upcoming pick number 15 for the Buccaneers, I'm kind of feeling him for that. There were some rumblings in the war room actually about that, so I'm kind of just bringing some of the war room action to you guys. And I think that's where my head's at the moment. I am very surprised by a couple things that just happened as well that we're going to get into in a little bit. But wow.
What about you, Miles?
Same thing, Ruben Bain Jr. I knew that the concerns for him heading into the draft was the short arm length. But when you watch the film and you watch the player, he's just so dominant at Miami, and it's just he has all the physical traits you need in an edge rusher. And I think that makes up for the short arm length that he has. Also, there's also been successful edge rushers in the NFL with shorter arm length. We talk about Micah Parsons all the time. Micah Parsons has shorter arms, but he's able to set the edge in the run and rush the passer, and he's been very efficient in his career. I think Ruben Bain can still be very efficient. So whoever picks him is going to get a stud, I believe, but I'm very surprised that he's still available up to this point.
Absolutely. And we got the studio queue, which you might have saw. We got the next two picks ready to go and to announce. Number 12, the Dolphins traded down one pick. We mentioned it in the last segment. Me and Wyatt talking about, do they go playmaker? Do they go in the offensive line? They end up going with offensive tackle Caden Proctor, which was perfect timing given the fact that he was able to push himself up the board with his athleticism. And the amount of actual work that he's done to get himself there is what propelled him up the board.
Yeah, they're getting another good offensive lineman, and they need that because that's what they struggled with last year, protection. I think he's very athletic. He climbs the levels to the second level very easily, so he's a very good run blocker from Alabama. He's got a long reach, and he just attacks linebackers at the next level, safeties, DBs, whoever he needs to move out the way for running backs to get through the lane. That's what he does.
Yeah, and this Caden Proctor pick, all I'm thinking is, okay, Dolphins, I see you. You got a lot of faith in Malik Willis right now. They're protecting their guy, and I think that's definitely a confidence booster for Willis as well. It's like, okay, they kind of have some faith in me. They're getting one of the taller guys out of this draft too, right? So, and Alabama guys, you know, they're always
draft out of the pedigree. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's, of course, you want to think of the offensive line almost seems for a quarterback as a sign of faith, where receivers seem as a sign of, I need help. So I do agree to your point where it should give them that sense of security of they're really trusting me with this. They're going to give me every shot I got. Now, number 13, the LA Rams, whole lot of debate on where they would go, who they would go, how the board would fall. Some said Ruben Bain if he falls. Well, Ruben Bain fell, and that's not what they did. They ended up going with Ty Simpson, quarterback out of Alabama. Now, this is a pick where, personally, for me, I thought he was a second-round pick, and I thought he was a fourth-round grade, not very high on him. But this is a future pick. We saw this with Jordan Love. We saw this with Michael Penix. This is a pick where he's going to sit and develop behind a veteran like Matthew Stafford and then eventually take over.
So it's, again, like you said, it's a little early to take Ty Simpson, in my opinion, as well. But Matthew Stafford's still LA Ram at the end of the day, which means he can sit behind a pro-level quarterback like Matthew Stafford, who's got a very good pedigree his whole career, and just sit behind him for a year and just soak up as much information as possible. We've seen quarterbacks sit behind Hall of Fame level quarterbacks and then produce when they come in. Aaron Rodgers is a perfect example when he sat behind Brett Favre. It did a lot for his career. Tom Brady didn't come in and start right away. He was able to sit back and learn from Drew Bledsoe. As much as crazy as that sounds, he learned a lot from Drew Bledsoe. So I think it's a little early to pick Ty Simpson, but they could still benefit from it. And that shows you how they feel about Ty Simpson as possibly the franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I completely would agree with you both on this is shocking. And another point that I've just been thinking of as we've had this discussion is the Rams were close to, getting to the big game.
Yep.
And what this pick really is telling me, at least, is the Rams are kind of satisfied where they're at. They're gonna look towards the future a little bit, but I think this just shows that they're confident with their roster at the moment, and a few small adjustments that are made outside of the draft might be what gets them there.
Absolutely. And the Rams, we know, have probably what is the best coaching in the NFL.
Yes.
So if there's any team that can use a first-round pick on a player that's not going to see the field, it's going to be the Rams. And we also know that they hate using their picks in the first place. So getting one that seems pretty useless kind of makes sense. Now, looking ahead, that leaves the board up to the Ravens, Bucks, and Jets up next. With the Ravens, obviously, we've mentioned interior offensive line. That's something they lose Linderbaum. They have to fix that. And we'll probably have some of that to talk about once we come back. I know, Matt, you wanted to introduce something coming up.
Yeah. Real quick, should we give a quick prediction for the Ravens? I don't know if you guys already looked at it, but I'm kind of thinking receiver here, maybe Lemon or honestly, probably Lemon.
I think if you look at
That's my prediction.
If you look at their free agency so far, I don't see them going anywhere other than the interior offensive line. Only because Linderbaum was the entire center of the line. And even if you take someone, like we mentioned, Io Wayne previously, if you take him and you do have to kind of nurse him into the game, we saw it work with Creed Humphrey in Kansas City. So I think this is a pick where you're not necessarily drafting him for now. You're drafting him for week 9 when he takes the spot fully, he takes control of the offensive line, he learns how to use his hips, and then he's ready for the playoffs.
My opinion, I also think interior offense line, because Lamar has been in and out the lineup all last year. He was in and out. He needs that protection. And your first priority when you have a franchise quarterback is to protect him, right? So get as many pieces along the offensive line as you can to protect your quarterback, because the best ability is availability, and you want Lamar Jackson, your franchise quarterback, playing at all times. So I think it's very important that they go and protect him and give him as much protection as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're going to keep our eyes out for the next couple picks. And yesterday, I had the privilege with talking with Buffalo Bills beat reporter Sal Capaccio. So we're going to transfer over to that interview
in a couple minutes. We're getting a cue. They're not ready for that yet. So moving forward, we're going to look a little further down the board. I want to talk about one pick that you look at any mock draft you've ever seen in the last 3 months. Fernando Mendoza going to the Raiders. We all kind of knew that was going to happen. There was a second pick that I feel like was on every single mock draft. Number 18, the Minnesota Vikings. I saw Dylan Thieneman almost as much as I saw Fernando Mendoza. Do you guys think this is the correct pick? Do you think Thieneman makes his way down there?
I think he still does. Safety, it feels like it's a position that's becoming less and less of a need in terms of, making a priority to trade up for a guy just to get a safety. And I think it's becoming less of a priority. So now it's going down the list. I think that he could make it to Minnesota, and I think he can make a true impact there. We know Harrison Smith is aging, and we know that they need to fill in that role. So I think he'd be a perfect fit for it.
And I think Thieneman has a lot of the same play style as Harrison Smith, so you don't really have to change anything up scheme-wise.
Yeah, I just have to agree with you guys on the Thieneman pick. And just at the Vikings overall, this is like a Band-Aid on a broken arm, I think, because the Vikings looked really good a couple seasons ago, and it kind of almost was like, what just happened with the Vikings? So we'll see who they take here in the grand scheme of things. They still got a lot of work to do.
And as we wait to send this off, another one I saw a lot of, which kind of got thrown in the gears for me, was number 15, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you did a mock draft pre-free agency, I picked Kenyon Sadiq every single time. And then they re-signed Cade Otton. So I don't know if necessarily they go with Sadiq here, because do you take a tight end in the first round when you already have one? So I'll take it to you, Matt, this time first. Do you think they go Sadiq? And if not, where does Sadiq fall to?
I think I'm going to stick to my guns here and go with this. Think they're going to take the Ruben Bain pick, just because I'm going to stand on my word. And last year, I think we kind of got a little bit of the wrong picture of how tight ends are picked in the draft.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of we'll put an asterisk over the 2025 draft because what was there, 2 in the first round?
Yeah, 2 of them. Yep.
Which little unusual, at least. They could find a tight end later in this draft or elsewhere.
And you do mention the point how tight ends recently have been drafted early, much more than in the past. We saw Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, all these tight ends going super early and making their way up the boards. What do you think with Sadiq here?
So I don't think they go tight anymore. I think K-Dot filled that hole already. I think they go with the other Miami edge rusher, if Ruben Bain's not there, of course. I think they go with Keem Messidor. I think they want the technicality in the pass rush. You get that in Keem Messidor. Now, the only problem with Keem Messidor is he's 25 years old.
Yep.
How many teams want an older prospect? I don't know. It can be a problem, but I think Keem Messidor is a great player. I think he's a very technical edge rusher that any team could use. And I think the Bucs will benefit from that with their pass rush.
And I do think he fits the theme they have going on with their defensive linemen there. Vita Vea, this big mauler. They have Logan Hall from Houston, still a big mauler. They had Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, got rid of him because he wasn't big enough. So I think the Messidor pick would fit a lot of what they have going on that defensive line. So I'll ask you guys, since we're still here, is there a player you want to see that maybe was questionable whether or not he was going to go in the first round, you think should go in the first round, or a player that has been mocked to go in the first round this entire time that shouldn't go in the first?
Yeah, I think you were mentioning Akeem Messidor. Is that the Canadian edge rusher?
From Miami?
Miami.
Yep.
Miami? Yeah. I think that's probably my most intriguing pick of this whole first round. And I don't know why. The backstory did something to me. This guy, he does play opposite of Ruben Bain. So, there is some talk there of, is this why this person's good in the first place? He's 25. Like I mentioned, he's Canadian, but I had him, at least in my mock draft, falling to the 26 for the Bills. And I'm kind of feeling like it might happen. So that's my biggest prospect coming into the rest of this draft.
So a player that you think might end up falling further than mocked, or a player that's been mocked or hasn't been mocked that you think can climb up with the way the boards fell?
Okay, Malachi Lawrence is one that typically is mocked outside the first round. I think if you're looking for that burst and bend from an edge rusher, I think he has it. And on top of that, he has the mass and the length to go with it, which I think makes him a very dangerous player. I'm a little higher on him than consensus is. But I think if you're looking for that bend and quickness around the turn, I think Malachi Lawrence is that pick. And if you're looking for a guy like R. Mason Thomas and Cassius Howell, I think Malachi Lawrence is that, and then some, because he can set the edge in the run and he can hold his own. Now, I'm not saying he's the best, run-setting edge rusher in the class, but I think he can hold his own because he has the arm length and the mass.
Yeah, and I think the consensus got a lot higher than you thought it would, because ultimately, earlier today, there was some saying that he could make his way all up to 20. So Lawrence is one that really, really rose in the last 2 days. For me, more of a second-round talent, but you say it, he can do everything, including set the edge for the run, so that's always valuable in the NFL.
Wow. And I want to mention pick number 19 to you both. This is one of my more intriguing picks that are left in the draft because Panthers, they exceeded expectations a lot last season. And I want to ask you both, what do you think is a piece that the Panthers can take here that can maybe either help Bryce Young or do something on the defense?
For me personally, this is my Sadiq pick. And if you look at their tight ends, they keep taking these middle round tight ends that they're okay. Jatavion Sanders is a good blocking tight end. He can catch a few passes here and there. Tommy Tremble's a good receiving tight end, but he's nothing special. He doesn't take the top off. Sadiq gives them the ability to play this type of offense where they have big receivers, they have fast receivers.
Right.
They could get a fast tight end. Sadiq isn't necessarily a liability in the run game. He's not your general, Mark Andrews who can catch passes and block Travis Kelce, but he's someone who's going to be a threat. He runs a 4.3 from the interior. Right. Safeties aren't prepared for that. So I think he gives them a new way to run the offense where they don't have to play on the perimeter as much.
Nice.
So for me, it's Casey Concepcion.
Okay.
I think you just add more and more playmakers for your franchise quarterback. Now, they haven't really name Bryce Young as their franchise quarterback. He's still kind of proving himself a little bit. But I think you give him as many weapons as possible. And Ted McMillan having the year that he had and knowing that you have that guy and then that connection with Bryce Young, I think you just keep adding to it. Now, Xavier Legette hasn't quite panned out as they'd like him to. So I think what you do is you just add another playmaker and move him down the pecking order. Make his job a little easier in terms of the depth chart. But I think adding Casey Concepcion is going to give him a lot of juice. You know? Ted McMillan gives him a lot of juice too downfield, and he played great his rookie year. But I think adding KC and moving him all across the line of scrimmage and giving him that ability with Ted to work off each other, I think would be a perfect pick and a home run pick for them.
And we know Casey can do it. He's won the Paul Hornung. He's the most versatile player in college football. So and I do like the point where they're an offense where they want to move pieces and they don't want to be so reliant on this one piece. And you mentioned it that Xavier Legette was the first pick of the second round. He's basically a pseudo first round pick, and especially for a team like Carolina, that's taking the pressure off of him allows him to just play freely. And we've seen that issue with multiple times. And the expectations of a young receiver being drafted early are so hard to meet. We saw it with Keon Coleman. We saw it with Xavier Legette. And especially for the Bills part of it, Keon Coleman's one where he was thrust in expecting to be the number 1 X immediately. So I do like the point where getting another playmaker allows them to take the pressure off of these other guys that have been so reliant on winning the division this year.
Yeah, and I really like how you both mentioned 2 receiving options at tight end and wide receiver. Because honestly, coming into this, I had Proctor falling to number 20 for the Panthers, but I really like those offensive weapon choices just because you already have McMillan. It's like, oh, if Casey Concepcion is good, we still got to cover McMillan, or if Sadiq's good, we still got to cover McMillan. So I really like those takes on who the Panthers can pick. And I just got some unfortunate news to everybody that the Sal Capaccio interview is corrupt. But if you do want to see that still, find me on campus. I get here around 8 o'clock. I'll let you know how to find that. But there is some good news. Put your thinking cap back on for Trivia Part 2.
Welcome to Trivia for the NFL Draft. Which NFL team picked with the first pick in the draft and went on to win the Super Bowl in the next season? A. Minnesota Vikings. B. None. C. Dallas Cowboys. Or D. The New England Patriots.
I don't think a rookie has ever. I don't know.
I
know a rookie QB has never won.
This is just picked first in the draft.
Yeah, just pick first. Yeah.
Yeah, you make it go. I was gonna say maybe Dallas because I don't remember if Troy Aikman was the first overall pick.
I don't think he was.
I don't think he was either. So you can't say it might still be Dallas. I don't know.
I was because the Patriots during their time would never have had it.
No. I'm gonna say none.
Yeah, I'm gonna go none too.
None is correct. I kind of wanted to throw a curveball to see if anyone.
Who did the Browns pick number 1 overall in their first draft after they came back to the NFL in 1999 as an expansion team?
Who they
pick number 1 overall? I'd honestly be surprised if you guys.
What
got
year?
this. 1999.
1999.
Or no,
okay.
Can I get a position? Can I get a position?
Quarterback.
Quarterback.
Oh shoot.
I'm gonna go with
Browns quarterback. 2000.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with the Browns.
I'm pretty sure
teams.
When they went to the playoffs in 2002, I'm pretty sure he was still their quarterback. Not that I don't know if that's helpful. But.
Oh, I know who it is. It's Harbaugh. No, he was on the Chargers.
Was it like Joe Couch or somebody? Or Leaf? What's that dude's name? Someone Leaf? Joe Leaf?
Joe Leaf? I don't know.
Ryan Leaf?
Ryan Leaf?
Well, I'm going to go Ryan Leaf because that's the only old quarterback that I can think of
that
that didn't amount to too much.
I think it was... Because there was somebody...
I'm just guessing, by the way.
Yeah, I'm just guessing, too. I want to say... I feel like it was a NFL coach, a current coach. I'm just going to say Harbaugh.
Matt, you were so close. It was Tim Couch.
Tim Couch.
Quarterback out of Kentucky.
I know that like the Couch jerseys are still, in rotation.
You said Joe Couch, and I'm like, oh my God, he's
Joe
close.
Couch.
Widely considered a reach when he was selected with the 16th pick in the first round, this quarterback only lasted 2 seasons as a starter in Buffalo, eventually being replaced by Tyrod Taylor.
I know who it is. EJ Manuel.
Yes, sir.
Number 3.
EJ.
One of my neighbors had EJ3 as their license plate with the Bills logo on it.
Dude, he was like, I remember thinking he was like heaven sent when he got drafted or whatever, because we were kids. We were like young.
Oh, and welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider. I'm Jake Moss.
And I'm Miles Samuel.
And we got a couple more picks to announce for you. 3 of them instead this time. First of all, we talked about the Ravens, what they need. They lost Tyler Linderbaum. Don't overthink it. Vega Ioane, interior offensive lineman out of Penn State, played primarily center. And we list him as interior because center to guard is a very easy transition coming to this level. And a lot of the 3 interiors between left guard, right guard, center are very translatable. The one thing is, it's going to allow him to actually take the step into being the commander of the offensive line.
Yep. I think it's great that he has some type of versatility in case, I think it's very important that NFL teams value versatility in their offensive line because someone gets hurt, you can move around, you can fill people in, and I think having that versatility is great. I think he's a very agile offensive lineman, and I think the Ravens use that because, again, you have Derrick Henry running the football. You need to be very agile and be able to move to the second level to get Derrick Henry lanes. And when Derrick Henry gets going, he's a hard man to bring down. So I think they got a good pick in Vega and Ioane. I apologize. And I think that it'll help the run blocking even more and honestly give Lamar a little bit of pass protection. I know he doesn't anchor quite as well as other, but I think it's a very good pick for him.
And we mentioned the last time how Ioane struggles to move very well. There's a difference between agility and moving well. And I know that sounds kind of redundant, but for those who may want the clarification, agility is more or less you're wanting the offensive line to be able to move within the 2 yards back and forth of the line of scrimmage. Moving well is being able to get downfield, being able to get out on screens. That's not where Ioane's strength is. But being able to move as a pulling guard or a center, moving in the power game, that's his strength. And that's what they're going to try to do with him. Now, pick number 15, Tampa Bay. Matt over here hit it on the head. Ruben Bain falls far enough to where they get their guy. Now, we talked about the demographic where they like these big guys. And he's big enough outside of the arm length. Again, I don't think the arm length is going to matter as much. I do think it's more or less a combine scare because at the end of the day, it's kind of like Scream. It's a horror movie, but you're not really scared of it.
Right.
So they looked at the tape. They said, you know what? This is our guy. He's going to get around the edge. And he offers a sense of speed that defensive line hasn't had in a little bit.
Now, I think the Bucs are getting a steal.
Mm-hmm.
This guy should not have fallen as far as he did. But you know what? Tampa Bay took the opportunity, and they're going to get a stud, I believe. Great pass rusher. I know he has short arms. I understand that. But this guy has a plan, and he uses it to his advantage, and he just feeds off energy. He's a relentless runner. Sometimes, though, he's so relentless, he can get outside his rush lane. So it's important that he hones that aggressiveness in, but I think he's such a talented player, and you just didn't have to think hard about the pick, and the Bucs just took advantage.
Absolutely. And the thing about the arms, too, is they may be short. It's not like he's weak.
Right.
If those arms get on you,
he's got a lot of
staying
mass
on you. So in the run game, maybe he can't set the edge like some can, but as long as he makes contact, he's going to stay on contact with the ball carrier. Moving into the next pick, the Jets. We thought this could go in a lot of different directions. And for me, I thought this was going to be the Tyson pick. Now with Tyson off the board, that kind of throws that out of whack. And they still stay with a pass catcher. The thing is, it's not on the perimeter. They end up taking Sadiq after the pick where I originally thought he would go and before the Panthers pick where I thought he would go after. Now, this is a pick where they're a team where we say they're punting, right? This year's not really a competitive year for them. They're in their second year of a new system. They traded for Geno Smith. In my mind, if you trade for Geno Smith, you're not a contending franchise. You're not trying to win right now.
Right.
So this is a team that sees the quarterback class next year and says, you know what, let's go get a playmaker. Let's let him develop to the NFL speed for a guy who may be a little bit smaller.
Right.
And then when we get our quarterback, he's got a bona fide option.
So because he doesn't have that size that a typical tight end does, still a freak athlete.
Yep.
This guy ran a
100%.
4.39 at the combine. I mean, even for a tight end that's lighter, that is ridiculous.
Yep.
So I think he can use that to his advantage in the NFL. Now, when you have size concerns as a tight end, comes with run blocking issues.
Yep.
And if he doesn't set himself well in the run game, that can be an issue.
Absolutely.
So hopefully he can, get in the NFL weight room,
Yep.
put on some mass like a lot of other players usually have to do when they get to the NFL. And hopefully that become less of a liability. He wins downfield vertically.
Yes.
And I know it's Geno Smith throwing him the football, but having that option downfield vertically is always important in the NFL. You want explosive plays as much as you possibly can, and you're getting a guy that can give you that. I think it's a good pick for the Jets. I wasn't expecting them to pick tight end,
I
but
wasn't either.
I can see you getting another playmaker, even if it's not the quarterback that you want right now. But I think there's nothing wrong with getting another weapon.
Absolutely. And I think they go quarterback later. Just give Geno Smith some rookie competition, get a young guy in the room, maybe a Carson Beck later on tomorrow. But I do like the aspect of get the pieces now. You're going to get your guy next year. For at least for this year, Geno Smith can underthrow him. So moving on, we do have pick 17, which we did not say previously. The Lions, we knew they were going to go offensive line, or at least we thought they were. And they lost so much in that area that it was almost a guarantee. And we were right. They end up going with offensive tackle Blake Miller out of Clemson. Miller is one of my favorite prospects in the sense of he started.
Everybody, Matthew Barton here to interrupt this draft with a.
That's not easy to do. And that's especially coming out of high school. You went to Ohio, and Ohio football is one of the better states in the U.S.
Unless Ty
He
Simpson
came in, started his first
falls.
year.
It's got to be a
never
quarterback. That's the
relinquished
only way I
the
think a
job,
team
and
would
was one
go
of
into the
best
first
offensive
round.
tackles for an offense that was good and a team that was a contender.
Yeah, they're getting an experienced starter at a good school.
Yep.
And I think that's important to mention because experience is always good. Some of these NFL prospects come in the NFL.
So it is draft week, but at the same time,
so the game
it is also we are.
I think getting an experienced
complete Buffalo
starter
Sabres heads
in
right
Detroit
now.
is good for them.
I saw that you were at the game
Little
last
early.
night.
Yeah.
In
And
terms of who I thought they might draft, but we know they want an offensive line.
do you want to kind of just talk about what the atmosphere
I think
was
they got a good one
like
still.
last night
in the
at the
sense of
Sabres game,
early, I don't
despite
think
the
it was
loss?
necessarily too early for
You know,
him.
again, it was
Too early
kind of a
for
lot of the
who else
same
is
through
on
the
the
first
board.
period. And then once
We
Boston
talked
scores, you're
about
like,
it
okay,
earlier.
well, they
Monroe
came back
Freeland's
last
still
night,
there.
but you got
Caleb
to
Lomu's
make
still
sure,
there.
on
You
Swayman,
still
it's going to be
have
really tough
Matthew
and
Henshaw,
just kind of
and
waiting for something,
not that I
waiting for
think
something.
they're
And that's something
necessarily
never
better, but I
materialized. It
definitely
was
think
kind
that,
of too late.
they
And even by
offered
then,
more
it
right
wasn't
now than Blake
quite
Miller
as
did.
raucous because they were already
So
down
that brings us
4.
up to the pick
It was later in the
18,
game. It was going to
and
be
we
tough.
don't
Once they got
have
to the
this one
second goal, it was a
yet,
little
but
interesting.
we've talked
The
about
atmosphere
it
is still
a couple
awesome.
times,
Though.
and
Still
we're pretty
great.
sure we
Great to
know
be back
who
in the
it's
arena.
gonna
And
be,
we know we're guaranteed a
considering
game 5 no
the
matter what
general
happens in
consensus
Boston
is
over the
one
next
guy,
2.
Oregon
And I
safety
expect it to
Dylan
be
Keeneman. Now,
just the same. If
looking
not even
ahead
louder
later
and
in
more
the
hyped.
draft,
Yeah, that's going to be
the
exciting.
Browns now at 24.
On TV, they showed a little
They traded
statistic.
back
It's the
and
first
had these
calendar
picks
year
where
since
the
2000 where
Browns are in a
there's been a
similar
Bills playoff
situation.
game and a
Hunting
Sabres
for a
playoff
quarterback
game in the
next
same
year.
year.
They
So
see
that's
that
really
class,
awesome
they
to
want to
see.
wait.
And
You see them taking
so it
a
is an away
receiver,
game
everyone
tomorrow.
falls
We have
down.
the game at 7, and then the draft is at 8. So what are your kind of plans to
on early on when most of them were still available. Now I know a lot of them are still dropping, which is good for them because they got to move back and kind of stay in place. But yeah, like Mekhi Lemon's still available. If he falls, you don't think twice about that. I think you get as many weapons in the building as possible before you draft a franchise quarterback and use the quarterbacks they have now. They're paying Deshaun Watson a lot of money, right? A fully guaranteed contract. I know he might not be the guy that you think he's going to be the quarterback for the next 3-4 years, but obviously they're going to go with the best quarterback available, whether that's Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson. So get as many weapons in there as possible to at least make the quarterback's life a little bit easier.
I get that. Matt, joining the desk again.
I'm hearing Deshaun Watson, so I think that means we got to give our guys a break here. And we have some great news. We have the Sal Capaccio interview. It is not corrupt, and we can enjoy this. It was an awesome conversation, and I hope you all enjoy as well.
Everybody, Matthew Barton here to interrupt this draft with a very important special guest. The one, the only, Sal Capaccio. Give it up for him. Hello, Sal. Again, pleasure to meet you. My name is Matthew. Thank you for joining us today. And so it is draft week, but at the same time, it is also, we are complete Buffalo Sabres heads right now. I saw that you were at the game last night. And do you want to kind of just talk about what the atmosphere was like last night at the Sabres game, despite the loss?
again, it was kind of a lot of the same through the first period. And then once Boston scored, you're like, okay, well, they came back last night, but you got to make sure, on Swayman, it's going to be really tough and just kind of waiting for something. And that is something never materialized until it was kind of too late. And even by then, it wasn't quite as raucous because they were already down 4. It was later in the game. It was going to be tough. Once they got the second goal, it was a little interesting. The atmosphere is still awesome, though. Still great. Great to be back in the arena. And we know we're guaranteed a Game 5 no matter what happens in Boston over the next 2. And I expect it to be just the same, if not even louder and more hyped.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. And on TV, they showed a little statistic. It's the first calendar year since 2000 where there's been a Bills playoff game and a Sabres playoff game in the same year. So that's really awesome to see. And so it is an away game tomorrow. We have the game at 7, and then the draft is at 8. So what are your kind of plans to cover both your fandom and the NFL draft tomorrow night?
Well, I cover the Bills, so I'll be covering the NFL draft.
Okay, great.
So, so I'll be doing that. But I can guarantee you, inside the Bills media room, where I and 40 of my colleagues will be, maybe, they will have the hockey game on the TV. So in the Bills media room, they have the podium where Brandon Beane speaks, and then, we have 2 TVs. It's a really nice setup. And generally, we put one TV on ESPN's draft, one on NFL Network's draft, or something like that. Or in cases of, if I remember right, back in the last few years, we put maybe NHL or NBA playoffs on the other TV, actually, now that I think about it. So this year will be no different. It'll just be the Sabres on one of the TVs. And most of the Buffalo media that's going to be there in some capacity covers the Sabres maybe, or is it for an outlet at least that covers the Sabres, whether it's TV or print or radio. But we're there to cover the NFL draft. I mean, that's our job there, and things like that. I'll be keeping an eye on it. I'll be joining in on WGR throughout the night. We'll have coverage. So we carry, obviously, Bills and Sabres and cover the draft and whatever. WGR is going to have the Sabres game starting at 7. The draft will be on WBEN. So I'll be on WBEN mostly, just kind of chiming in and out with them and talking about that. I think the game will be over by the time the Bills pick, though. The game should end by 9:30 to 10 o'clock at the latest. The Bills won't pick until after 10 o'clock, as long as they stay at 26 and don't make some massive move up. So I think we can kind of have all bases covered here.
Yeah, and staying at 26 was something I wanted to talk about because I'm sure you've always been asked the question, who you got this draft pick. I just checked out the Man-Child show with Boy Green Digital, so shout out to them. And it looked like trading down seemed like the most reasonable option, or at least the ultimatum that you kind of had for the Bills. So are you still holding strong for that selection at this moment, a day out?
You mean holding strong for to trade down?
Yeah, it's trade down in the draft.
I mean, the way I look at it is, to me, that's the best scenario for the Bills. I just don't know if they'll be able to do it. Everybody can want to do it, but what team is going to trade up? Given it's a kind of what I think most people would consider a weaker draft, especially in the first round. I mean, a team would have to give you assets to go up and get a player that they might not have a first round grade on. And I think that's a tough ask. So yes, I think it's the best scenario. Yes, I think the Bills would love to do it. I don't think they'll find a dance partner unless Ty Simpson falls. It's got to be a quarterback. That's the only way I think a team would go into the first round to make that trade, is to, draft a quarterback. And I guess the only one would be Ty Simpson in that scenario. So yes, I am holding that is the best case scenario for the Bills. I just don't think it's really going to happen.
Okay. Yeah, because just going through some mock drafts, you really are right. It's that first kind of group of guys is the highlighted guys. And obviously through the draft, anyone can be a star, anyone could be good. But in terms of what we kind of know, that first little set of group of guys looks like the best. And through the offseason, we had some big signings like Chubb, Gardner Johnson, DJ Moore. Did that impact your idea of, maybe if we have the opportunity, we can step out of the round as well, other than just another team needing something?
Not really. The draft is about value.
Okay.
I think, you're just trying to get value. Like, I think that anytime you make an acquisition or you lose a player, it obviously changes maybe a little bit of your approach to how you want to approach the offseason. But, you don't want to react to, oh my God, what GMs will tell you, what Brandon Beane has said many times, and he's right, and other GMs have said this, like, you don't want to overreact and reach just because you need a player at a position, right? Because that's how you get in trouble, by taking a player who isn't worth the value. If you reach for a guy and take him in the first round as a third round talent just because you need the position, that's not really smart. The fact that they did, I think to your question, fill up some of those areas, maybe saying, okay, well, we're kind of okay there. Look, you still want to be able to, replenish your roster. I think it's more about value than anything. If the Bills get to 26 and there's a guy they're comfortable with 26, I don't think it matters that they traded for DJ Moore, signed Bradley Chubb. If that value is there and they have the guy, then I think that they would be fine with taking him. But I just question if the value would be there.
Okay, interesting. And at least one of my favorite parts of the draft, aside from obviously just hoping we get a star, is kind of a player just being memorable in a way. For me, Shaq Lawson's a memorable one. Ed Oliver, just, time and place. And I was wondering if there was a specific draft pick from the Bills through your time of reporting that you can kind of associate with a specific moment, either good or bad in your life.
Sure. I was living in Florida for a while before I moved back to Buffalo. I was in radio. I left radio for a while. I was a high school football coach, a teacher, and I was doing some radio on the side in Florida, but I wasn't really in it full time. And my wife and I and some friends had gone to the ACC championship game in Tampa, and we watched Clemson against Georgia Tech. And I remember watching CJ Spiller and saying, man, the Bills never get a guy like that. I wish they would draft a guy like CJ Spiller. He'd be super exciting to have in Buffalo. Well, I was also a track and field coach at the time. And I had a big bet. The way they do it, they have these huge events on Friday nights, Thursday nights, Friday nights in Florida, where they get like 20 schools that come to these events. And it's April, so it's warmer down there. So I remember the night of the draft, I was at a track meet. And my wife texted me, and I saw, and Twitter, social media was kind of in its infancy, but you had internet. And I remember getting on and seeing the Bills had drafted Spiller. My wife texted me right away, oh my God, they got that guy CJ Spiller we talked about when we were at that game, the ACC championship game. And it was really cool. And he was a Florida guy. He had grown up there, and he went and he had gone to Clemson, but he was from the state of Florida. And then I literally moved up here back to Buffalo like shortly after that. I think CJ's rookie year actually was the year I came back up here, and got to know CJ really well. And it was a funny story we had shared too. We had some friends who had coached and played down there together. So kind of cool just to kind of think about, man, that's a guy I'd really think they should get or would love to, but not going to happen. And then suddenly it happened. And my wife was like, oh my God, did you see what just happened?
Nice. Yeah. It's a really nice way to kind of, look at the history of yourself as well. Okay. What was I doing when, EJ Manuel was drafted and so and so. So, and to see where we are now is also really great. One kind of another funny thing from our class is Professor Carnath, who, thank you to him for obviously putting this in order. He kind of just mentioned who wants to interview Sal Capaccio, and it was crickets. I was like, me, I would love to interview Sal Capaccio.
Wow, I can't believe it.
I don't know if
that's okay. I guess I got to step up my game.
Because maybe just a lot of people haven't, grew up around here, listened to the radio. So I was super thrilled to hear of this opportunity and be able to chop it up with you about, Buffalo sports and the draft.
Yeah.
And I did have one NFL draft trivia question for you.
Okay.
We wanted to do some trivia just for the draft show as well. And the question is, what position has been picked the most with the first overall pick? Is it the wide receiver position, halfback, defensive end, or quarterback? And this dates back to, I think, about the 30s.
Okay, well, with the 30s, so not even the common draft.
Yeah.
So you're talking about even back in like the NFL before the AFL days,
Yep.
like before that. Ooh, okay. Well, that's tough then, because if you're counting the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, and I do think running back would come into play here, halfback. But I think since the common draft started in the 70s, I would say quarterback, which would be my normal answer. I can't see wide receiver. I remember a few times where receivers were taken number one. Keyshawn Johnson, Terry Glenn, there were a few guys there. I think Keyshawn was number one. I got to go back and look, but there have been a few guys over the years. I'm going to say quarterback in the common draft era, so that'll be my answer. But it wouldn't surprise me it was halfback/running back going all the way back to when you say.
So very close. The answer from the entire draft is quarterback with 37 first pick selections. Halfback comes in at second with 21. And then, receiver only 4, defensive end 13.
But I bet you halfback/running back, most of those were taken before the common draft era.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's been running backs taken number one, like John Carter in 96. There's been some guys. But I would say most running backs were taken like top first overall would be way back in the day.
Yeah, that definitely was more, I guess, heavy back in the 30s, 40s, right before that. So yeah, I think a lot of people kind of, turned their head at that question when we asked it in class. So that was a fun one. And I had more of a sports journalism question for you as well. So we're kind of balancing both reporting on, just giving an update. This is the score. This is what happened last night. This is what we're doing. But there's also another aspect which I really enjoy is the, finding the story within the game or finding the story outside of that. And I was just wondering if you had any advice when seeking out sports stories outside of just, a recap, or what to look for, maybe.
Make connections with people, get to know people, and they'll be, willing to share stories with you and tell you about their lives, and, make sure that you make a connection with them and tell them, hey, I'm really interested in your story. Tell me a little bit more about you. And I think people don't hear that enough. They just want their athletes a lot of times are too used to people just wanting to know about them as the athlete, maybe. And I think, showing an interest in them as human beings is important, but you have to make those connections to do that. One of the things that I do is, like, for example, this year you could do this when the Bills draft. When the Bills make a draft pick, for example, the Bills PR will come out to the media room and they'll give us the bio on the player, like a one sheet with a bio. And you can find it online too. They'll post it, but they'll give us the sheet, but it'll post it too. And I like to dig in. They always have little personal anecdotes. Grew up here, played this sport when he was a kid, played this musical instrument, favorite movie is this, ice cream. And I read that stuff. A lot of people don't. I'd say read that stuff. Get to know, because those things become interesting questions. For example, I remember when Dorian Strong was drafted last year, and I'm reading, and his name happens to be Strong, which was super ironic because it said his dad was a world-class weightlifter and bodybuilder. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. So we get him on a Zoom call, and I said, Dorian, tell me a little bit about your dad and your upbringing. I said, obviously, you know your way around a weight room, right? Being around your dad and what he's done. He's like, yeah. And then his dad, and he talked about his dad and growing up, bodybuilder, weightlifter, maybe a preseason game. I see that stuff. Read that stuff. Go in and dig into the bio a little bit and find out some really cool, funny stuff. But Landon Jackson, I read last year. He gets drafted. Him and his wife, he's already married in college, and they have a microdoodle dog, and they're bringing the microdoodle to Buffalo, obviously. So, and then he loves talking about the microdoodle, right? I mean, those are little things that you can find because people give them, but a lot of times people don't care to look at it.
Yeah, and just by your description, it sounds like it could be almost a bridge for us as Buffalo Bills fans to find a player to connect with. Like, oh, I have a microdoodle, or I love bodybuilding.
Yes.
I'm a new Dorian Strong fan, or something like that. So that is.
I think it's great. I'm a drummer personally, and over the years I've seen guys would get drafted and they have a musical background, and I would connect that way and say, yeah, I'm a drummer. I see that you're a guitar player. You're a drummer, something like that. And I used to do a TV show there were different co-hosts over the years, and one of them though was Eddie Yarborough, and we found out Eddie he played for the Bills for a couple of years, and we found out that Eddie played the ukulele. So we literally brought in a little drum set and a ukulele, and we started playing on the TV show together. It was super cool.
Wow. Yeah, that is something that I'm really looking forward to, as I continue on, just trying to really, instead of just, they had this many sacks, this many tackles, like, who is this person? So that's a really awesome aspect.
If people who are in those jobs do their jobs the right way, the SID of a school, the AD of a school, the PR director of a team, all those people, if they're doing their job the right way, which they should, you'll have plenty of information at your fingertips to dig into.
Awesome. And I guess to wrap things up, something that just came up today that I had to just get your take on very quickly before we wrap up. Josh Allen is actually getting some flack for some reason about his, banging of the drum and chugging the beer, and almost people saying that he's some type of bad juju. And for me, I want to just let you know, I feel like if our starting quarterback can't be doing that at a Sabres game with getting hate, then something's wrong, because that's what we need, win or lose. I don't know.
Well, I got a text about this today from a friend of mine who told me the same thing. I had no idea, but so I just saw this today too. And my response to him was, those people are sick and stupid. That's what I said to him. So if you could use that, whatever, that really wouldn't be like what I think more than anything though is, and I was just with my friend when I said that, what I really think though is that people just sometimes need a reason why their team lost. Yeah. And that seemed like an easy target. That's ridiculous to think though.
Yeah. So that's going to be exciting. We'll be looking at the game tomorrow night at 7 and the draft at tomorrow night at 8. And Sal, I guess I do want to ask, do you have any questions for, someone who was in your shoes countless years ago at this point?
Sure. My question for you is, like, what is your ultimate kind of goal? Do you want to do play-by-play, radio hosting, TV anchoring, studio work, print journalism? What is your ultimate kind of big picture goal?
Yeah, so coming into college, I was super honed in on specifically sports, actually. And then I joined the school newspaper. I learned about investigative journalism. I learned about,
love it,
just covering things on campus. And recently this semester, I've been really almost addicted to making video content alongside print content. So whether that's just touring the place that I'm writing about or documenting my experience at a sporting event. So I've really been enjoying, making an accompanying video with writing pieces. And I think, at least looking forward, I would love to either run a YouTube channel for a news outlet or a sports outlet and be able to kind of just do video journalism. That's really what I've been interested in.
Do you want to be on camera and, talking on a mic, or you just want to be behind the scenes, or both?
I think a little bit of both. I really like both being on camera, but also giving, there's a lot of people that on the newspaper that they were super shy. I mean, I was shy myself, and I kind of was able to get myself out there, but it's awesome also getting everybody a chance to speak on the mic, and that's been a really fun part of it.
I love that. You're going on the right path, man, because I will tell you that when I go to speak to classes and kids and people who want to get into this business, the biggest advice I give them is something you're already doing, actually. And the biggest advice I give is be versatile. Do a little bit of everything. When I was getting in this business, it was either you're on radio or you're on TV or you're in print. Now everybody crosses over. And I didn't think I'd be doing video stuff and YouTube stuff. I'm 53 years old. That stuff didn't exist when I was your age and growing up, right? So I think you're already doing what you need to do, and that's really cool, man. But keep being versatile. Do all those things. You don't have to be great at everything, but you got to be able to do it all.
Yep. And another thing I'm going to keep doing is raising my hand if somebody asks to interview Sal Capaccio or anyone of the sort. So Sal,
I love it.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad that we were able to shift from FaceTime to Zoom in quick notice, and enjoy the draft. Enjoy the rest of the Sabres playoff bout, and I'm sure I'll run into you at some type of Buffalo broadcasting event in the future, hopefully.
You got it. And tell Professor Carnath I said a big hello and thank you.
I will. All right. Enjoy the rest of the week. Take care. Thanks again.
Okay. You too. Thanks, Matthew.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Woo!
Sports. We told you this was Thieneman. We told you everyone thought this was Thieneman. It's not Thieneman. Caleb Banks, defensive tackle out of Florida, ends up being the pick for Minnesota. They bolster the interior of their defensive line as long as having their edge rushers still there that he can do the work in the middle and open up that pass rush for. Carolina at 19, we told you this could be the Sadiq pick. Sadiq goes at 16, so where do they go? They go offensive tackle, Monroe Freeling. And Freeling as a tackle we talked about is mainly a left tackle, which could be kind of an adjustment. Either him or Ike Ekwonu have to move to right tackle. But it's a position that is going to give them the freedom to protect their quarterback. And not only that, in a shorter quarterback like Bryce Young, you really need to keep him upright and clean if you're going to want to repeat as a division champion. Now, number 20. Jerry Jones did business with the Eagles. So I don't know if the world's ending or if he's finally losing it, but they trade up to 20, Philadelphia being, and they go get their guy in Mekhi Lemon. And what most of us are going to think is A.J. Brown's gone. And it's really weird with the Vrabel debacle going on with him and Rossini, but Lemon pretty much spells that Brown's time is done. And number 21, Pittsburgh goes with Max E. Henachor, the offensive tackle out of Arizona State. A big mauler in the run game, went to the Senior Bowl, showed out, was one of the best players there. And he's going to be a guy who aside from Broderick Jones, is going to give them absolute towers at left and right tackle. And with that, I'll send it back to the desk.
And welcome back to the desk. Thank you, Jake, for those update on the picks. And so what we're going to get going here is a little bit surprising about this draft so far is the wide receiver situation going on. You know, we have a few picks that have gone. We have Tyson, who went to the Carnell Tate, who went to the Titans in the first round. And I'm so sorry, Jordan Tyson going to the Saints. But other than that, we really haven't seen too many more wide receiver picks so far. So what do you guys think about that so far?
Yeah, the only other one's been Mekhi Lemon to the Eagles. And I don't know how the Cowboys they traded with the Eagles to allow them to go get Mekhi Lemon, one of the best receivers in the draft. I don't know why they did that, but I think it's a great pick for the Eagles. And I'm surprised at how Omar Cooper's still on the board. There's a couple other good receivers, Casey Concepcion. So there's definitely Cooper and definitely Concepcion I think they're going to go off the board tonight.
100%. I have to say, Jordan Tyson being the second wide receiver taken in this draft to the Saints. Spencer Rattler's going to win an MVP coming up here pretty soon. I swear it's coming. But I really like that pick for the Saints. Although he does have some injury concerns, he has a great complete route tree. He's pro ready. He can do basically anything on the field you want him to do. Like I said, it's going to be Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shough. They're going to win an MVP, and the Saints are going all the way.
Yeah, well, personally, what I think is so crazy is that Omar Cooper Jr. has not come off the board yet. I'm really shocked. I feel like we've passed quite a few teams here that use an extra receiver with his type of skill set. I really do think that Mendoza had a great season because of his players around him, like Omar Cooper Jr. You can't win that championship without Omar. And really, that is the most shocking thing to me so far is that we haven't seen more of these receivers off the board. I mean, for this year, I feel like there was a decent receiver class in general. And I thought it was pretty hyped up. Normally I think that, you can't really, people talk about how it's hard to find that great receiver in the first round. But in this class, it feels like we have a lot of solid guys, but these teams just seem to be passing on them for some reason. What do you guys think about that?
I'm surprised Lemon dropped all the way to 20. I thought the consensus coming in the last couple weeks is Mekhi Lemon was a surefire lock to the Rams at 13, and then they go with Ty Simpson. And I feel like from there, teams were, maybe hesitant to pick him.
Yeah.
I thought the Jets would have been an option at 16, but they went with Kenyon Sadiq. So I'd say that's my biggest shock. Even Carnell Tate going as high as he did at 4, I was a little surprised by. But I'm curious, where do you guys think Omar Cooper Jr. is going to go? I mean, we're up to pick 22. And we got about 10 picks left in this first round. Where do you think he could go?
I know this guy. He's fishing. He is throwing out the line. He's fishing. They're going to go most likely the Browns.
Yeah.
Browns, they need this wide receiver one right now. Jerry Jeudy has not been cutting it so far. I mean, I'm sure Lucas can tell you more about that. But yeah, it's the Browns for me. I really think so. You guys have a different opinion?
Well, he just wants Shedeur, bust down AP, perfect wrist, perfect timing. He wants him to go crazy. I mean, 100% Omar Cooper, that'd be a great pick for the Browns. And if he doesn't go to the Browns, I'd be more than welcoming him to the Bills. That'd be great. Another another pick here, Denzel Boston. We haven't even talked about him barely at all. He's another great receiver. It's just with the way this board is falling, it's like how many more teams at this point are in need of that receiver?
I feel like this draft class is not as top heavy as you'd like, but I think it has a lot of depth. I think when you get into the second round, you got a guy like Denzel Boston could be in the second round, even Casey Concepcion. I think he'll go tonight, but there's a chance he could fall to the second round. I think there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be in the running, a lot of teams that are going to be in the running to get guys like that on day 2.
Yeah, and I think really the surprising part, kind of going off what you said there, is, this has been a line-heavy draft in this first round, which I don't think anybody was really expecting, to be quite honest with you. It's been so many – how many – we had plenty of defensive linemen and offensive linemen go in this draft so far, and it has absolutely been shocking. So it's leaving a lot of these, good skill players, solid guys for these better teams farther down. I also think, I don't know what you guys think about this. The 6 teams that are able to draft twice in this first round, it really seems like double dipping, like they might have made the right move. So I just think that's so interesting so far.
I think the way that this board is falling too, if you go from pick 8 to pick 20, no wide receiver taking that.
Yeah.
It's just like you have people coming in. The offensive tackle from 1 second here.
Penn State.
No, well, Penn State, yeah,
Yeah.
Going to the Ravens too, 100%. But then we have the Max. I'm gonna butcher this name. Max Ekenor from Arizona State, offensive tackle. Like nobody saw him going in the first round either. And the Steelers were in a spot where they thought they would have the QB of the future coming in. They thought that they would have one of those offensive linemen coming in to be there ready for him. But it kind of almost felt like a reach at that point. Like I didn't even see him going until the second or third round. Like we're talking about the 6th offensive lineman on the board, like the 5th offensive tackle. Like coming the way that he came is just absolutely insane. This draft board is falling really, really weird tonight.
Yeah, and I think the Steelers, they were also a team that could have been, if Ty Simpson's there, they could have went Ty Simpson, or even a team that could have went wide receiver with their pick, but they stuck with the O-line, and that's been kind of the trend. People trying to build the trenches either on defense or on offense.
Yeah, no, I absolutely I agree with that. I really do think I was really wondering if the Steelers were going to go Ty Simpson in this draft, and I wonder if he just kind of got snagged out from underneath them, and that's why they went with Max. But yeah, no, I really did find that shocking so far too. And that's what it's really the interesting part is with these skill players not really coming off the board so far. Like, what else are we going to see? San Francisco, Houston. Yeah. The Chiefs are going to get another great skill player probably.
I think the Chiefs will definitely be in the running for one of these wide receivers. They already got their corner. They traded Trent McDuffie in that Rams trade. I think they could be looking for a wide receiver, and that could be like a Denzel Boston.
Yeah,
I think Denzel
absolutely.
100%. I also think, too, the Chiefs also could be in a spot here to where they could trade back if they really wanted to get back to that. Like, they went and got their corner. You think here you have Concepcion, you have Omar, you have Denzel Boston. And if you're looking at the bottom half of this draft, if we're assuming that A.J. Brown is going to go to the Patriots, what do the Seahawks take somebody there? Do we get past the Bills taking somebody? Do they see one of those safeties that I still have in the board and go, we really need to address that? It's just like if the Chiefs are feeling that feel of, we can go get a wide receiver early day too, somebody comes in and gets, it's just that's always a big possibility there.
Bringing up the Patriots, I think, is a great point because, let's say this A.J. Brown trade is on the table. Imagine they also take a wide receiver here at 31. They could be switching around this offense in a night, essentially. And that is really the most interesting part so far is what are these lower half teams going to do? We talked about it a little bit more. I think the Bills are also in an interesting situation because there are some great wide receivers left on the board. But do you go wide receiver or do you go back to your defense? Is that what you want to go to? I think they're kind of in a tough spot too. I think obviously, in my opinion, the Bears are going to go straight defense. I think they'll probably go, something in the secondary. But this draft is kind of throwing me for a bit of a loop.
Yeah, I think the Bills pick is the most interesting left. Do they go wide receiver? Do they stick with a need with like edge? I don't know. Yeah. Especially with the wide receivers on the board.
100%. It's a really tough spot for the Bills. Almost you have too many options to pick from there in a sense.
Yeah.
You could go either which way. You just don't want to look like a fool making the wrong decision there 100%.
Yeah. Well, guys, I really think that is all finished up for us today. That was kind of our wide receiver conversation. When we get back to you, we're going to have some more picks for you. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon, all right?
Welcome to trivia for the NFL Draft. In NFL history, which position has been picked with the #1 overall pick the most? Is it A, wide receiver? Is it B, halfback? Is it C, defensive end? Or is it D, quarterback?
I feel like this is a trick question. You want me to pick quarterback?
Yeah, you want me to. I feel like it's DN. I thought it was edge rusher too, DN. I feel like that's. But I also kind of feel like that's the safe pick. I'm gonna say edge rusher.
I'm gonna say DN. Yeah.
Yeah, DN.
Both you guys saying DN?
Yeah.
So defensive end is actually, out of these ones that I've given you, the third least.
Really?
With only 13 first-round selections of a defensive end. Quarterback has been selected 37 times with the first overall pick and is the most selected position with that pick in NFL history.
I overthought it.
Wide receiver, only 4. Halfback, 21.
I overthought it. I thought it was going to be a trick
Yeah, I
question.
tried to like
That was a good one.
throw in some good ones. I mean, more recently we're seeing more defensive ends and even like offensive linemen, but since the 30s, quarterback 37 times.
Bills'
Okay.
2004 draft pick became a Pro Bowl running back.
2004.
Wait, repeat that again.
Which Bills' 2004 draft pick became a Pro Bowl running back?
What year was he already said? No, it wasn't Marshall.
Okay, so I was 2.
Who was the running back when I was
2004. I will say I don't know him much from his time with the Bills. I know him more from his time with the Broncos.
Ah, okay. I'm gonna go on a limb here and just say Terrell Davis. Because I'm just guessing.
Oh my god!
I'm really making Aiden think
so
today.
bad. This is so bad. I feel so stupid after I do these stupid trivia games.
We'll be able to answer when we actually watch them on the live stream.
Yeah, I'll go Terrell Davis too.
It is.
No, I don't think so.
Willis McGahee.
Willis McGahee.
Willis McGahee. See, I knew he was on the Bills, but I remember him more like early 2010s when he was with Denver.
What year was the first NFL draft held?
I'm just gonna go off of what I think I remember from researching yesterday. 1934. I'm just guessing.
Is it 1954?
He's trying to do like the 100-year math in his head right now.
I'm gonna say the first NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shoot!
So it's combined. It's post AFL.
Okay, I'm gonna go 56.
19.
Oh wait, maybe
64.
1936. So you were pretty close on your first guess, honestly, Matt.
Hello and welcome back to some more Buffalo Sports Insider. I'm Jake Moss.
I'm Matthew Barton.
And we got a couple more picks to announce as we get closer and closer to the one we all want to hear. First, we have the Chargers at pick 22. A couple different directions they could have gone here, but this is one where there's only a couple positions where you thought they might go. They end up going with Akeem Mesidor. We've mentioned his name a couple times throughout the night, and he's a player where he could play 3-4 end, he could play 4-3 D tackle, could play 4-3 end. So kind of depends. This gives you an immediate leader, though, with him being 25 years old. A lot of people see that as a negative, but it's going to be someone who's actually known the game for a little bit in the locker room.
Yeah, I like this pick for one reason, but I also don't like this pick for another reason. I'll start with why I like it. Now, they already had to worry about Khalil Mack.
Yep.
And this is just a whole different beast on the other side of this defensive line for the Chargers. In terms of the overall pick, it's decent. The Chargers, I feel like they've been this close to making something happen for the past ever since Herbert got drafted. So who knows? Maybe, just keep adding up on defense can make something happen there for them. But the one thing that is just kind of funny about this pick, Mesidor, the Canadian, he walked miles in the school to football camp. He, is used to the cold. He goes to Miami for college, and now he's off to sunny Los Angeles, so I'm happy for him.
I am, absolutely. And coming from Miami, he's got a little bit of exposure from that sun already. So glad to see him go there and give Khalil Mack a little bit of an easier run in the later part of his career. Moving on to pick 23, another name we mentioned earlier, his stock rising up, could go in around the 20s. Well, he did. Dallas trades down to 23 with Philly, and they end up taking Malachi Lawrence, edge rusher out of UCF. Miles on here earlier mentioned how he's able to set the run, and that's one thing that really upped his stock was that he was able to get after the passer and as well as set the run, which NFL teams value so much nowadays.
Yeah, and I think this, as much as I don't want to say anything good about Dallas, this is good for Dallas. They had to get rid of Parsons. They got some pretty valuable things from that, and with 2 picks in the first round, one of them being an edge rusher, they're kind of slowly building that back. Will they be any good this season? We'll see, but I like the pick.
And it's good to see a team that had the worst defense in the league for the first half of the year go defense.
Yes.
So, and this gives them a lengthy defender. One of the things that made Parsons so special is his range. He could get everywhere so quickly. Malachi Lawrence doesn't have to get anywhere quickly because he's much longer in the terms of length and arm span. So he can do much more in the similar fashion, just a different way to get there.
Yeah.
The last pick we have to announce for you, Cleveland at 24. They traded down to this pick earlier, and they take wide receiver Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. Now, this is the pick we mentioned earlier, won the Paul Hornung Award, and he's a receiver that can play inside, can play outside, can play special teams, does everything you want on a team. And we mentioned this for the Jets earlier, too. The Jets have a unique scenario where they need a lot. And in order to make that happen, versatility is a great thing to start with. This gives Cleveland, a team that we can be honest is not going to compete this year, an athlete to use.
Yeah. And Cleveland just whole first round draft strategy honestly threw me for kind of a whirl. They trade back from 6 to 9. I honestly thought that this would kind of be reversed. They get their receiver and then they maybe get an offensive lineman. But this first round has been super offensive lineman heavy. And I think for the Browns, you kind of mentioned, Watson and Sanders. So I think they might have more faith in their quarterback room. And that's kind of why they're going for more offensive pieces like this. We actually do have a Browns fan on set. I'm not going to say any names. If you may have known if you saw some tensions flaring in the last segment, but wasn't too stoked for this pick. He was kind of hoping for Omar Cooper Jr. From Indiana. So we'll see if he maybe trickles down to the Bills or, we'll be getting to that soon. But I like the pick for Cleveland.
And I do think the pick here with KC is the one concern was his size. He's not necessarily rail thin. Like, we're not talking Devontae Smith, but he is thinner than most. And that was a concern. Can he play on the outside at this size? I do think he'll be able to play wherever he wants in terms of slot, outside, maybe a very, very athletic Z. But this pick for me is a pick where, again, they see that class next year. That QB class next year, we can't talk about it enough. There's so many good quarterbacks next year. And with the highlight being Dante Moore and Arch Manning, the Browns are going to be in market for at least one of those two. So I think if Shadur doesn't pan out the way they want him to, or if Watson is still the same Deshaun Watson as the last 2 years, that's going to be the direction they go. So they get their weapon now, and the defense was good last year. They just couldn't score. So good to see them actually addressing that. And you did mention you thought they would go receiver and then tackle, and they kind of did it flip-flop.
Yeah.
I was the same way. I had them taking Carnell Tate and Blake Miller. So it's really interesting to watch these teams kind of get to where you think they're going to get, just not how you think they're going to get there.
Yeah, and it's super interesting that I feel like we have way more teams with 2 picks in the first round this draft. I want to say there was 5 teams with 2 picks. And it's been really interesting to see different strategies like Dallas, defense, Cleveland, offense. We'll see what the Dolphins do later on in this, but I'm excited for, we're getting down to the wire here. Kind of, it's 10:32.
Get Nancy.
10:32. We got some stuff to do in the morning, but that's okay because we're doing this for y'all.
Amen. And the reason why you have so many teams having multiple picks in the first round, teams are so much more willing to move on from cap situations and players that necessarily don't want to be there. And one of the notes I wrote down is, since a new league year, there's been 23 trades already prior to the draft. So if you include all the ones so far throughout the draft, you're already up to like 27 of them. At this time last year, prior to the draft, there was 15 in the new league year. So teams are much more willing to make trades and get rid of pieces that necessarily don't want to be there. We saw it with Parsons. We saw it with Gardner. We saw it with the other pick that got Cleveland their second pick. So a lot of these teams are saying, you know what, if the player doesn't want to be here or they want a contract that we don't want to give them, just cut ties and get the capital.
Yeah, and it hurts a little bit because it's like, wow, there really isn't too much, faithfulness left in the NFL or any sport at this point. But what are we going to do? There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of people involved. It's not just your player. You're talking agent, manager, husband, wife, kids, whoever it may be. I don't know, but wow, it's been a draft.
Absolutely, it has. We're going to go to break here. After we come back, we'll have a couple more picks to announce and another trade to announce. We'll be right back.
When I think of the Buffalo State graduate program, I think of personal growth. The classwork is definitely challenging, but it's very rewarding. Our professors support their students. They're always there to answer questions, to help with projects.
especially in a graduate program, it's not a typical teacher-student relationship. You're treated a lot more as a peer, and it helped me hone in on my own interests professionally and academically.
Welcome to trivia for the NFL Draft.
What's up, my guys? My name is Chef Darian Bryan, owner-executive chef for the Players Society. I'm also an alumni for Buffalo Steak, man. You guys really set me straight so I can, move on with my career. What stand out most to me at Buff State? It's more like the love and support my instructors show me, like the professionalism. Like these folks, they know so much, like the hands-on learning, dealing with real people, It's a fun experience.
Hey Buffalo, need a midweek boost that's fun and meaningful? Join Wine, Wags, and Brews at the SPCA serving Erie County. Sip wine, taste craft beer, snack on delicious bites, and hang out with adorable, adoptable dogs. Bring your friends, make it a date, or just treat yourself. It's all for a great cause. Wine, Wags, and Brews, Wednesday, June 10th at the SPCA serving Erie County. Tickets and info at yourspca.org/WWB. Wine, Wags, Brews.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
How's your serve coming? I think we'll work on it this weekend.
Amy's slumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If you do...
Hi, Lauren. My name is Katie. We're gonna take care of you, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
You wouldn't do that. So why do you do this? Distracted driving kills an average of 9 people and injures over 1,000 every day in America. Put down your phone. Lives depend on it. Don't drive intoxicated. Don't drive intoxicated. A sobering message from AAA.
Oh, and welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider. I'm Jake Moss.
I'm Matthew Barton.
And we got a couple picks to talk about. The first of which, the Bears. They came on the clock, and we saw them in free agency. Their secondary was questionable last year. And with a couple new players coming in from last year, they let Gardner Johnson walk. They let Byard walk. They let Brisker walk. Everyone's gone. So, in theory, secondary was the only really direction they could go that would make a lot of sense. And it was very similar to Buffalo in that aspect. Well, they end up going with a safety, and they end up taking a top 10 player on my board at number 9, who's fallen this far, Oregon safety Dylan Thieneman. Dylan Thieneman is a safety that plays both strong and free very well. And I thought was a great fit for Minnesota earlier, mainly because he fit the Harrison Smith play style very well. If you saw him at Purdue early in his college career, he was a downhill run-stuffing safety. Now he's developed the ability to actually play in the pass game. And going forward, I think that's something that will translate in the NFL very well.
Yeah, first off, I'm just surprised that Thieneman fell this far. I didn't have him top 10, but I had him top 12. And which we've been seeing a lot of linemen, I think, so far. And it just kind of worked out this way that Thieneman fell all the way to 25. But in terms of the Bears, like you said, a lot of people walked, which is interesting because they looked like they were just on the cusp of, turning their whole franchise around last season. And this Thieneman pick, with all the pieces that they lost, I mean, they also lost like a receiver. Obviously, we know DJ Moore, Edmonds. This is just a small building block to, in my opinion, getting the Bears to even where they competed at last season.
Absolutely. And a team that's very young like Chicago, it's always great to get a player who not only is young, but has seen multiple systems, and he can actually be that commander in the defensive secondary. Now, he's going to have a lot of help doing so with Jalen Johnson, but it's always good to have a safety who can do it because they're in the middle of the field already. Moving ahead, a player I was not high on at all. The Houston Texans trade up to 26. We would be announcing Buffalo's pick. Thank you, Brandon Beane. And they traded up to get interior offensive lineman Keelan Rutledge out of Georgia Tech. Now, I can't lie to you. I don't like this pick. This was a player where in my 7-round mock, I had him in the 5th. And I know there were some players some mocks having him in the 1st, having him in the 2nd. I don't necessarily see what they see. Rutledge is a great run blocker. And he's great in the option game, which is what Georgia Tech did very well. We saw Haynes King be a Heisman candidate out of Georgia Tech doing that. The only thing going into the NFL is option blockers usually struggle to anchor. And especially in the NFL with a pass-heavy scheme, and now going to a team to protect C.J. Stroud, you're going to pass the ball a lot. They don't have a dominant running back. Their offense isn't built off the run game. So for me, this is a pick where I don't necessarily see it. But then again, they get paid the big bucks for a reason. So they see something they like, and they're going with it.
Yeah, and I think, at least to go back to the trade, the Bills must have – I don't know what exactly the Bills are looking at this moment. I think that's why we're so tense right now. I'm kind of trying to lean over this desk a little bit. So, and the Texans going with this pick, where we would pick, is a little bit interesting. I mean, I feel like in the past, a lot of times when the Bills trade down a pick, the player that is picked there turns out to be some generational player.
Absolutely.
I mean, we saw it a couple times in the past.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Rutledge is just, has a 14-year career, holding it down in the trenches in Texans. And
Protector of the year multiple times.
I'm going to be rooting for the guy.
Absolutely. Now, of course, the one we're still waiting for, we thought we'd have it now, is Buffalo. They pick at 28 now with 27 on the clock, being the Miami Dolphins. And the board has fallen perfectly for Buffalo, in my opinion. I think this is a pick that if you're Brandon Beane, he says that you don't draft for need. You draft the best player that's on the board. I think there's a couple players that could be the best player on the board. And not only that, but they fit a need for Buffalo.
Yeah.
So looking at how the board has fell so far, Matt, what do you like in terms of what Buffalo should be going after?
Honestly, you kind of preaching this best player on the board from Beane. Going into this draft, I really liked edge, but I feel like for the teams like the Bills, they're just pulling edge players out of the grave. I mean, we got Jordan Phillips back, Shaq Lawson back. Let's go past edge. Let's even just get off the defense. Omar Cooper Jr. is still on the board. National champion Omar Cooper Jr. I mean, we haven't had a fun, exciting first-round wide receiver since 2014. Hasn't it been?
Yep. And
12 years later, let's do it.
And you can technically say that, Keon Coleman's kind of a first-round receiver, being the first pick of the second round, first pick of the second round, but not necessarily true in the aspect of night one of the draft, you see a guy, and it's always you see the guy get picked, you go watch his film.
Yep.
You didn't get to do that with Keon Coleman in the first night. So the wow factor is absolutely there, and I do think getting Allen multiple pieces that stretch the field and that catch passes at an aggressive rate, like an Omar Cooper, who is versatile for Brady, is exactly where I want to see them go. For me, looking at the board, other than Omar Cooper, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, not someone I thought who would be on the board, and Thieneman fell way further than I thought he would. I think that could be a pick that they really like to put aside Bishop, and they really like putting these smarter safeties next to him because Bishop is a lot better when he doesn't have to think. We saw that happen when they started playing Jordan Poyer. Jordan Poyer is not necessarily a great safety anymore, nor was he last year, but he was solid enough to make it where he was calling the plays out, and Bishop was the one just going and reading what he sees. And that's what made Poyer and Hyde so special in Buffalo. So I'd like to see them really go anywhere that C.J. Allen's still on the board, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren's still on the board, Omar Cooper's on the board. So there's a whole lot of directions. They did a lot of work on Jacob Rodriguez, but at this point, I'd rather take a shot on Avion Terrell. So it's going to be exciting to see where they go, especially with these couple picks that are, or this one pick that's ahead of them currently. And looking ahead at the rest of the draft, Seattle's a team where it's kind of interesting to look at them. They want to trade back. They want to trade back multiple times to get multiple picks. They currently only have 4 picks in the draft right now. So
The Seahawks?
yes,
Wow.
they have their first. I believe it's the first, second, fourth, and sixth. So they don't have much at their disposal. They're a team that's looking to trade out. Now Buffalo has traded down again with New England and again with Seattle. So we're in the same boat again that we've been in for the past 2 years of saying, you know what, give me picks, and then give me more picks, and actually give me
a little
more
bit
picks,
more.
and then I'll pick someone.
Wow.
We saw this 2 years ago with the receiver debacle, where they pick at 28 and they trade back with KC, who takes Worthy to 22 or 32, and then they trade back again one more with Carolina, who takes Leggett, and we end up taking Keon Coleman. So with the picks ahead of them, I don't necessarily see the board getting messed up for them. I think the players they want are still going to fall because they're not necessarily needs for those teams. I don't like having both the Dolphins and Patriots ahead of us being division rivals, because at this point the Jets have made 2 picks, the Dolphins have made 2 picks, the Patriots have made a pick or will make a pick at that point, and Buffalo's sitting.
We're sitting here with picks, which I want to ask you this question. So now that obviously we don't know the details, unfortunately, because we don't have that capability at this moment. But I'm wondering, let's say we get a safety with the 32nd.
Yep.
And then maybe we get 2 receivers later in the draft with our pick, or vice versa. We get either a corner and a safety. I'm really liking, honestly, I'm liking what the Bills are doing. I did want to, kind of go to bed at a reasonable time tonight. But now that the Bills are picking 31, how can we go home?
Absolutely. And especially when it's a team like Buffalo, Bean does this all the time. If he likes someone, his heart kind of gets set on it, and he's going to get that guy. And if he doesn't get that guy, he'll wait 3 years until they get cut from their old team and then sign that guy. Lewis Sign. So there's a couple that kind of scream out to you, this is a Bean guy. And it's weird because in the past years, it's been McDermott guys that he's drafted. Not necessarily that McDermott wanted them, but that they were guys who McDermott liked and thought would fit the culture very well. We saw that with Elam. We saw that with Coleman. So looking at the board, it's hard not to get wide eyes almost, because we've seen a lot of offensive linemen go so far that
crazy
for Buffalo isn't a need. So with more and more offensive linemen going, more and more players that could be a pick for Buffalo keep falling down the board.
Yeah, I think what I can't get off my mind right now is the fact that all of our AFC East rivals have went, and now the Chiefs are on the board. Our other AFC, arguably our biggest rival. Who did they get earlier?
Kansas City earlier went with Mansour Delane. They traded up to get him at 6.
So what are we thinking the Chiefs are doing here? This is interesting.
The Chiefs, for me, they need an offensive tackle after losing the one they had. And for me, the way the board's fallen, if you're not going to get one of these top tackles, you got to get out. So right now, maybe Caleb Tiernan, maybe they trust Jennings Dunker on the outside of the offensive line. To me, I think he's better fit for the interior, but Jennings Dunker could be their, corn-fed Midwestern mauler in the middle of the offensive line that they think can play tackle. So,
and I don't have a lot of notes on Blake Miller, but I don't believe he was selected yet.
He was.
Yes. I apologize, everybody.
To the Lions. No, I agree, though. Blake Miller was a really good fit for them, too. And he would have been their pass setter that he brings a lot of experience to. And with that, we have pick 27 to announce. Miami Dolphins. This is a pick that they were originally behind Buffalo, but now they're ahead of them. And they end up going with corner Chris Johnson out of San Diego State, which to me is shocking because there's still Avion Terrell, there's still D'Angelo Pons, Colton Hood, Jermod McCoy. Now, McCoy's not nearly surprising because we know the injury history. But Avion Terrell, what gets them Chris Johnson over him?
Yeah, at this point, I'm not exactly sure other than the fact that injuries might just scare the Dolphins. It ruined their quarterback room. Even you could argue that their wide receiver room. Yes, Hill was a little bit older, but I think they're just trying to play it a little more safe with especially a new quarterback and a new coach.
Absolutely.
I think that the Dolphins are in rebuild mode. Let's be honest.
And looking back at the Buffalo trade with Houston, that was the first trade of a couple that moved them down the board. They ended up picking up a third-round pick, being pick 67, so very early in the third. They also picked up a fifth-rounder from Houston, being 167. And I think this is a draft where we know Bean likes the middle rounds. I think him picking up a third and a fifth is more valuable to him than pick 28 was before he got rid of that. So I think this is Bean wants to go more quantity than quality. And he doesn't necessarily want to take the super, super highly valued player, and he wants to take more players that he really likes.
Yeah, and now the Bean is what, 8-9 years in his position. We have the proof to back up that the later round picks are paying off. Ben Ford, Dorian Strong was a later pick, right? I mean, we're getting a lot of nice pieces later in this draft. And I mean, just looking at this draft last week, it's hard to be confident in any of these people in the first round because Tom Brady, that's all I'll say. We got to bring him up every year. I mean, you never know with these people. And I love late round picks.
And it's interesting you bring up Tom Brady because I was mentioning this and talking in the preparation for this draft. We know Brady went round 6, pick 199. And quarterbacks this year are barren. So outside of Simpson and Mendoza, there's not really anything worth noting. Maybe Carson Beck, but I watched the national championship. I'll keep my hands off that. So interesting enough, I have round 6, pick 199 being a quarterback, being Drew Aller to Cincinnati.
Wow.
Now, I'm not saying this is Drew Aller's the next Tom Brady. However, I did want to just mention the little novelty of quarterbacks necessarily don't have to land in a great spot early in the draft. I mean, as long as they land in a spot that lets them do what they need to do in order to get to the NFL level, Aller, we know he has the arm. It's everything else about his game that lacks. So I think him sitting behind Burrow gives him the ability to actually get a spot at some point.
Yeah, especially with, I mean, Burrow seems to be in the news for something else every other week.
Yep.
I mean, supermodels, a new haircut. Who knows?
His
He
toes
might be
falling
bald
off.
at the beginning of the next season. We don't know. So, yeah, quarterback is always an interesting choice. And I think just as the NFL proceeds, teams find their guys. We're kind of in this new era. Everyone compares, the Roethlisberger, Breeze, Brady, Manning era to this new Mahomes, Burrow, Jackson, Allen era. And I mean, we're living in it. This is why there's almost double-digit offensive tackles in this first round.
Yep.
And we're coming down to the wire here. A couple picks left. What
It's exciting.
a night.
Absolutely. Now, as we wait for these picks to be rolled in, NFL news, general NFL news. We had a couple things happen that were pretty interesting recently. And actually, before we get to that, we have pick 28. So pick 28 was New England that I mentioned. It was Miami and New England before Buffalo finally gets on the clock. And they end up going with Caleb Lomu out of Utah. He's listed as an offensive tackle. What was interesting was at the combine, he played offensive tackle, but afterwards got drill work with the interiors and with the offensive line coaches that were there. So there's some positional versatility there that for an offensive line of New England stature could be valuable to just kind of find out where he plays best.
Yeah. I mean, anything New England, this is a newscast, so I'm not going to be biased anymore. But, New England, they need pieces like this. They have a young quarterback. Yes, he made it to the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl, but they got smoked. So
they did.
I think this is a good pickup for the Patriots. They've been making moves in other ways, at least for receiver. We're seeing a lot of news around A.J. Brown. So, I mean, I think for the Patriots, this is just kind of business as usual for them.
Yeah.
Picking a lineman in the first round with Vrabel as their coach.
Absolutely.
And can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
The Bills pick is coming up.
Yep.
Do you think a offensive piece sets the tone for the Brady era here in
So
Buffalo?
I'm glad you bring this up because this is one of the questions I asked Daryl Talley. And what he mentioned was he thinks he'll make do with what he has because he thinks he has the pieces. And I agree to a extent. It's the pieces he has, he's had. He knows what everyone's capable of, which means he also knows what everyone's not capable of.
Okay.
If we know Khalil Shakir, we know he can play on the outside, but his value is in the slot. And if you look at your other perimeter receivers, DJ Moore is best set as a Z. You don't necessarily want him being an X because you don't want him in the one-on-ones. You want to be able to use him anywhere. Your traditional X currently is Josh Palmer. He's your best man beater outside of DJ Moore, but he doesn't offer too much outside of just moving fluidly. So for me, I think offense would be a great way to say, you know what, Joe Brady's a new head coach. I know these are your pieces in your offense technically so far because it's been your offense. Here's your guy.
Yeah.
And McDermott got his guy, and Dable got his guy when they took Allen. Here's yours.
Yeah. I think this would be an awesome introduction for our new coach, Joe Brady. And also, you know, when we pick these receivers, who do we have, you know, to take people away from that new receiver? Keon Coleman came in, and, you know, we're out on Diggs. I mean, they're obviously going to have somebody to guard Keon Coleman. Now they have DJ Moore and Kincaid to worry about. So I think Buffalo is a really nice spot for a young receiver that, I mean, even in the second round, I'll take one.
Absolutely.
At this point.
We have two more before
Okay.
Buffalo is on the clock for the fourth time.
Wow.
So before that, pick number 29, there was Kansas City. They ended up trading back multiple times after trading up, and they end up at 29 taking Peter Woods, defensive tackle out of Clemson. Now, this is kind of a shocker to me because you still have Chris Jones, and to me, they're going to have Chris Jones until he retires. So I don't necessarily hate it. One of the notes I had was Peter Woods is in a weird spot where he's kind of between a one tech and a three tech. He played his first couple years at Clemson as a one tech, then he lost 30 pounds to 270 and played three tech this year. So I would just kind of see him. I would like to see him before he gets to the NFL decide, am I a one, am I a three, and go for it.
Yeah. Peter Woods, Clemson, I think he fell a little bit just because of the fact that a lot of teams needed offensive linemen. Great player. I actually had him going with the Chargers taking him earlier. That obviously means nothing because it's just a defensive player. But, you know, for the Chiefs, I feel like they almost put on a mask, like we're rebuilding, but this whole time that they're not really rebuilding at all. Like they're just acquiring, you know, they're scary next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And pick 30, the Jets actually come back up into the first round for the third time, right? This year. We wanted Omar Cooper to fall to Buffalo. He didn't get to 31. He goes at 30 to the New York Jets, wide receiver out of Indiana, 2025 national champion, and he was the number one receiver there.
Okay.
In terms of actual efficiency, obviously Elijah Surratt was their top guy. He was the bigger frame, but Omar Cooper was the guy who made the catches and made the plays when they needed him most.
Yeah, this is either going to be a really, you know, this is going to come back to bite Bean in the behind because we just traded with the Patriots. We just traded with the Jets. And, I mean, if Omar Cooper Jr. is somehow generational, yes, the Jets, you know, who's going to throw to this guy? We don't know yet.
Next
But,
year. And they
man, it's disappointing.
They get him and Sadiq, and they have Garrett Wilson. So whatever quarterback they end up getting next year is going to be in a great spot.
Or maybe later in this draft.
Maybe. Now,
who knows?
For the Buffalo fans, for the fourth time, the Bills have traded back.
Yes.
And we are out of the first round now. Tennessee Titans are up to the 31st pick. And with that, there's 2 picks left in the draft that we'll have for you tonight. With Tennessee on the clock, they're a team also. They went with Carnell Tate earlier. Do you see them switching sides of the ball here?
For the Titans, honestly, I would love for them to just stay on offense and keep building around Cam Ward and this young, you know, roster that they're building. Rob Saleh is the head coach, I believe.
Yep.
And is Dable with them now?
Yes, he is. Offensive coordinator.
As much as they're a rival to our Buffalo Bills, I mean, the Titans were good not too long ago, and they have a whole fresh set of faces that they're young, and I would love to see them keep building up this offense to make it a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. And looking ahead to these last 2 picks, it's only 2 picks, and I feel like we have more than 2 players that are first-round worthy still on the board. So looking at the board,
surprises
for real. Looking at the board as it's fell, Avion Terrell to me is the biggest name. He's to me the best corner in the draft this year. Now, if you say Mansour Lane, I get it, but Terrell gives you the ability man and zone, and not the other corners didn't give that to me. And looking at corner specifically, Jermod McCoy is still there too. Now we know about the injury history, and is he going to be okay in the NFL? He didn't play last year, recovering from a torn ACL. Then he didn't go to the combine. Then he didn't go to his pro day. Then he held a private workout and pulled his hamstring. So it didn't go well for him in the draft process. So I get that one. You also look at R. Mason Thomas, Connor Liu, Emmanuel Pregnon on the interior offensive line. What name here shocks you most?
I think for me, and there's still a chance, Zion Young from Missouri. I think he's got to be one of the tallest guys in this draft, is he?
Yep.
I mean, I would have loved to see the Bills take him, honestly, with one of their picks. But I think Zion Young surprises me. And to go back to Jermod McCoy, I think it's a little bit unfair of how much we let injuries play a factor into people picking, because NFL players are getting injured every single game.
Yep.
And, they'll be back in 6 weeks. Don't even worry. But college players get injured their freshman year, and somehow it comes back to haunt them come draft night.
Absolutely.
Only draft night, too, because Jermod McCoy, I mean, he's going – let's see. Did I even have him in my – I don't even know. Where'd you have him?
I had him
at 10.
I had him at 30.
Okay, 30. So still, we had him in the first round, and injuries, I guess
they suck
bigger than what we think.
They play a big role, but they suck. And especially you look at Will Johnson last year. I know as Bills fans, we needed a corner. We were banging the table. Give me Will Johnson. Give me Will Johnson. And they didn't take Will Johnson. They took a press man corner.
Yeah.
And then Will Johnson was one of the best corners in the league. So it's hard to see these players play to that level and then just get everything derailed by an injury.
Yep. But the clock is ticking on the 32nd pick. And what do you say we get the whole crew in here behind the camera for the last?
Absolutely.
Bring everyone in here. Bring the war room in here.
A lot of people behind the scenes, one of which most notably Emma Nosby. Any graphic you've seen tonight graciously made by her in real time. So a great thank you to them. Another Matt behind the camera doing a great job in the studio. And then everyone you've seen on the desk so far tonight.
Lauren, get in here, everybody. Come on. Let's get some live reactions from the war room. What was going on in there?
Madness. A bunch of trades. Bills traded back a bunch of times, got a bunch of picks. I mean, it was absolute madness.
A lot of screaming. There was a decent amount of screaming. Interesting what happened here tonight. I'm in shock, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that last trade, I think they picked up 64 spots.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is huge.
I did not expect this many trades. That's all I got.
Picks on picks on picks. I don't know if my mic's long enough. There we go.
All I got from that is Spencer Rattler is going to win MVP.
Yes. The link in the description, there is a GoFundMe to get Wyatt a Spencer Rattler jersey. I think we only need like $170 more. So
It might be discounted.
Trust.
Backup already, so.
But guys,
Here's Matt behind the camera.
all right. We got, hopefully this Seahawk pick comes soon, but shout out to the crew.
Absolutely.
Zion Young, honestly.
I just, for me, I had them go interior offensive line. I don't know how much you trust Anthony Bradford. He was pretty rough when it came to most of the season, but I don't think they pick. Basantis, yeah. I did see one mock that had Basantis to Buffalo, which was one of the mocks of all time.
Okay.
Definitely.
But is there any pizza left in there?
I think there might be 2 slices.
There might be a couple slices left.
I don't want any more pizza. I'm just
Back end of the draft, we watched the Bills get traded back.
No, this was
absolutely.
This was a time.
All right, so now the question is, will Brandon Beane ever have enough draft picks?
No.
I don't think he will.
And I think we're going to be announcing the 31st pick very shortly.
Absolutely. We might actually have both of them here. And I do think, I don't know. There's a couple names that just don't deserve to fall to the second. And there's just not enough picks.
It really is interesting what just transpired here today.
Yeah.
There is no other word to put into it but interesting. Like tonight, there was clearly a run that went on tackles and all linemen in general, to be honest. And when I look back at it now, I think when we come back to this in a couple of days, we're going to sit there and think that maybe a few of these teams really panicked.
Yeah,
you know, like
agreed.
the one that comes to my head right away is the Steelers because I'm not sure. I think you guys were on live, but there was some information that came out that they were on Mekhi Lemon right before he was taken by the Eagles. So I think we saw a couple of panic picks here tonight, and I think this is going to be real interesting how this all folds out. Like even from a year now, how we're looking at this draft.
A lot about the offensive line. I think it's 11 offensive linemen in the first round.
I know
And
that's
I
big
came
for
out
you.
here and I said offensive line's going to hold it down. I love it. The big boys are getting the love they deserve 100%.
What are y'all thinking over here?
Again, just like rushing to take picks. I think Miami traded back up to just take Chris Johnson. Like all the corners were falling.
Yeah.
And I don't even think he was the best one available.
No, I agree.
And they picked Chris Johnson. So I think that was panic. That's good for Bills fans, I guess.
Yeah.
But I just think it was really panic pick.
Dude, who traded Dallas and Miami one spot?
I think everyone traded. Oh,
No,
one
but
spot was Dallas,
I
Miami.
I don't get that. I mean, it's like you're getting ripped off, you know.
And
Who's going to trade with you? Obviously, they're not taking a guy.
I think that was more a prediction. You think their phone is hot. So you said, you know what? I got to be the one actually on the line. So
We have the 32nd pick and the 31st pick.
we do. Are they good to go? Awesome. So 31st overall pick, the Tennessee Titans, formerly the Buffalo Bills, for the fourth time. They take an Auburn defensive lineman, Keldrick Falk, ended up being a bigger defensive lineman. He gives you the ability to kind of play a 4-3 and be a true power rusher. Questionable on how much his production mattered. He wasn't necessarily the biggest name in terms of stats last year at Auburn, but he's got the frame, he's got the intangibles, and earlier this year was a top 5 pick.
Yeah. I think for the Titans, I was kind of mentioning load up the offense, but they're not going to forget about the defense. Saleh is a defensive-minded coach. At least we'll see if he still is this upcoming season. And pick 32, 3, 2, 1. Jadarian Price, running back, Notre Dame. Another Notre Dame running
And
back.
It was really interesting because we all know running back's the most replaceable position in football. And they said, you know what, we only have 4 picks. We might trade back to get more picks. And they said, you know what, let's take a running back.
Okay.
That's, to me, I don't get it. But at the end of the day, it gives Charbonnet a pairing, which worked well with Walker, and won him a title.
I don't complete. This draft makes no sense to me in my
Agreed.
brain. I actually have no idea what just occurred tonight. Price going at 32, I think after the board that has fell tonight is completely out of this world shocking. I think this is nuts. I really do think Seattle might have fumbled this one or
Agreed.
really, this is an interesting pick, and this is just my raw reaction right after it. But Price was a great running back at Notre Dame. You know, obviously he followed up Jeremiah Love, and he did have, you know, some good production there this previous year. And I think in the year before when they went to the national championship game, Price was really good there as well. Yeah. So I do think he's a good, solid player, but just quite frankly, where this board is, it is truly shocking.
Do you think, I'm curious, now we got Jermod McCoy on the board, Avion Terrell, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Do we think the Bills go secondary? They have they have a top 3 pick in the second round.
Yeah.
They're gonna have their choice of one of those
three
guys.
at least, yes.
I could see them possibly going secondary with that pick.
Absolutely.
So earlier this week, I have a friend who's a really big Notre Dame fan. And he told me that both the Notre Dame running backs are going the top 15. And I called him absolutely insane. I said, this running back's not going to go to the 3rd round. Here he is proving me wrong, man. It's inspirational.
Any final words from this side of the table?
I think it's more likely now that the Bills possibly take Jacob Rodriguez. I think they traded back to the point where I think it's a value pick for where he's being paid. And I heard, rumors today that they have done extensive homework on him. So I think now it makes a little bit more sense that they traded back multiple times to get in position to draft him. So we'll see tomorrow.
Agreed.
I think maybe Jake Moss is a free agent and might play next year in the NFL, and Wyatt too.
I was thinking about being a running back. I might transfer to Notre Dame.
I'm next year's class. Well, thank you all for tuning in to this year's Buffalo Sports Insider NFL Draft Show. From everyone here, especially Emma behind the scenes, thank you for tuning in. And it's been a great couple hours to be here. Come on in here. Matt was in here earlier. Make sure to check us out on all of our socials. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, this has been Buffalo Sports Insider.